Hello, everyone, and welcome into our NBA Draft Live show presented here on Yahoo Sports alongside the Kevin O'Connor, Tom Haberstroh, and King McClure. I'm Ice Young. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to bring you the first round of the NBA Draft. We're going to take you through all the picks, reactions. I'm here with All-Stars, so don't be mad if we get a lot of things right. It's kind of annoying to be around them for the last few hours, but they've got all the answers, and I'm excited for you guys to tune in. Let's start with big storylines. KOC, coming to you first. What's the biggest storyline you have on your mind right out of the gate?
I mean, undoubtedly, just the amazing injection of talent we're going to see entering the NBA this year. People have talked about how loaded this draft class is up top, of course, with AJ Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson, Cameron Boozer, Caleb Wilson. But even beyond that, there's so many high-level guards in this year's draft class. In the top 10, Darius Acuff, Kingston Flemings. Outside the top 10 into the 20s, Bennett Stirts, Christian Anderson. There's players that can be high-level forwards, bigs like Aday Mara. This year, we're going to see just an amazing collection of talent enter the NBA, and for teams to now have the opportunity to find pieces to bolster their either rebuilds or their chances at contending.
Yeah, and speaking of contending, you saw the Oklahoma City Thunder this year lose in the Western Conference Finals, and that's the team that I'm watching at the 12 and the 17. Kevin, do they package those two picks to try to get into the top 10? If they have one of their guys, maybe it's Aday Mara, maybe it's someone else who they feel like a Wemby stopper, or at least a Wemby slowing player that they can acquire in the draft. You know that Sam Presti is looking at those top 10 players, whether it's guards or bigs, and he is probably trying to get into that top 10 in a loaded draft.
Well, let's take it to another team in that division. My hometown, the Dallas Mavericks. They just hired their guy in Dusty May, and when you look at it, they have a superstar, a rising superstar that can have as much of an impact, maybe not the same lengths, but as much of an impact on the defensive side in terms of being a two-way player, like a Victor Wembanyama. How do you build around this young man, right? Do you go, now that you got Dusty May, do you go with one of the mission guys in Lendeborg in Mara, or you try to hear me try to do it right there. By the time he gets picked, I might be a little better at it, right? Or do you go Morez Johnson? But also, we talk about the guards in this draft. There are so many guards, and when you have Kyrie Irving, what better way to get a guard ready than sit him behind a dude like Kyrie Irving, where he can learn, he can grow, and he can just really understand how to be an elite level point guard in this league.
I'm with you on the guards. It is a point guard heavy draft. We're going to see teams that are going to pick up point guards just because that is what's available. But to have the opportunity to have young guards who know how to create for themselves, also set up others. I think of a Keaton Wagler, for example, that maybe played a little bit off ball in Illinois in college, but I think is going to play more of the point guard at the next level. What guard do you have your eye on that is somebody that maybe could emerge in this draft that you really like?
You know, I've talked about him all year. None other than Darius Acuff. I mean, I absolutely love him. And when he gets his name called, I'm going to go on a rant and a rave because I love this young man. To lead the SEC in points and assists as a freshman, they talk about his defense. I'm not concerned. When you were asked to be Superman on offense, you play 37 minutes a game against high major competition, and you're the whole offense with a 29% usage rate, you can't play that much defense. I'm not asking you to do that much, but I love Darius Acuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and when you look at Jalen Brunson winning the Finals MVP, I think a lot of GMs are looking at this draft like, wait, who says you can't win with a small guard or a player that isn't the best defender? You look at Jalen Brunson and what he did in the NBA Finals against Victor Wembanyama. I feel like that might have changed a little bit on draft night.
I had a number of these guards on my podcast yesterday. They did a little like a media row thing for some of the prospects that are in the green room tonight. And I asked some of the guards, Keaton Wagler and Christian Anderson, what's important about playing defense as a guard, and all of them talk about effort, and they cite Jalen Brunson with, he'd throw picks on Wemby when he would roll to the rim earlier in the playoffs. He would set screens off ball for OG Anunoby, just hustling, playing hard, because this King is somebody who played at a high level. Defense, there's only so much you can do against the game's greatest scorers. And so what really matters most, and I think Brunson proved this, is it's just playing hard and playing smart. And so for a lot of these guards, some of them might be undersized. Labaron Philon, Darius Acuff isn't necessarily the biggest. But if you play hard, that's all that matters. And that's ultimately the big question Acuff's going to have to answer. Can he play harder on a lesser offensive role? But ultimately, this draft is just loaded with just good quality talent just throughout the whole first round. I'm excited excited. Even if you're picking 25, you could be getting a really good
player. A good player
guys,
at 25, right? Tom, I want to come back to your comment about how can OKC bounce back. You were talking about bigs and maybe front court guys that they could get in to compete with Wemby.
Guys, I love Aday Mara. I think he is one of the best passing bigs we've seen come through the NBA and draft night. When you're talking about a guy who can have 4 assists per 40 minutes and 4 blocks per 40 minutes, that's a legit NBA talent and someone who was kind of a late bloomer with Michigan putting it all together. And you know, King, when you look at a winner at the college level with those kind of numbers at the big position, that's why I think he is my favorite in terms of guys who can pop up at the number 5 pick, potentially move up all the way into the top 10. I feel like he is such a wide variance on the draft board. I love his skill set.
And I didn't even talk about what he can do on the defensive side. I mean, how he can alter shots at the rim. Not necessarily, he didn't even have to be the main rim protector, but just his presence at 7'2", being there makes you, when you go up for that layup, you're like, oh snap, let me go kick this out, right? It's the same thing we saw in the playoffs when it comes to Wemby. Guys would get to the lane, think twice about it and kick out. Now, it's not to the same degree, right? Nobody's Wemby, right?
Yeah.
But Mara has that level of presence on the defensive side to where he can impact the game in ways without even doing anything on the offensive side. But offensively, like you just said, he's terrific too.
Yeah, totally. I was really impressed with his run in the Final Four. Big man was clutch and upped his production in the Final Four. Let's talk Washington, though. They are on the clock right now, a team that hasn't had the last number 1 overall pick since John Wall in 2010, so it has been a minute. We've thrown around a couple of names as we talked before we got on air. We said AJ Dybantsa, Cam Boozer, Darryn Peterson. KOC, I'll start with you. What should Washington go to right here?
If I'm the Washington Wizards, AJ Dybantsa is number 1 on my board. I think just from a skill standpoint, we're talking about somebody who's 6'9", can do everything on the offensive end of the floor, has upside defensively as well with his 7'1" wingspan, only 19 years old. Dybantsa also is a fit for this roster. I know you're not drafting for fit with the number 1 pick, but you think about Trae Young recently extended, Trey Johnson last year's pick at number 6, Anthony Davis and Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr has been very good in addition to a lot of good quality guards on this team. What are they missing? A star go-to scorer like Dybantsa who can slide right in at the forward slot. I think it's a perfect spot for him to grow as a young player.
You know, when I'm going to ask you this, KLC, because I want to hear your opinion on this. With Trae Young getting his extension, with Anthony Davis, we don't know what's going to happen with that, but let's just say they're both there next year. Does it possibly stunt AJ Dybantsa's growth?
Well, this is also the Cam Boozer question. Is like, does Cam Boozer go there? And like the fit questions about the roster, the makeup of the roster. To me, the question is Dybantsa. I think he has a higher upside in terms of the ability to do so many things offensively for you. I think Cam Boozer's my guy in terms of number 1. I just think he is the processing power, the assists that he has. 4.4 assists per 40 minutes, twice as much as, say, Darryn Peterson at the 2 position. I just think he's the full package offensively. I'm not concerned about the athleticism. It reminds me a lot of Luka Doncic or Nikola Jokic. I think he could be the Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic of the 4 position. And to me, Washington can't go wrong with AJ Dybantsa or Cam Boozer. But to me, I think Boozer would be my pick.
Yeah.
I mean, Boozer is number 1 on my board. I think Boozer is by far the safest player in the draft. He is going to be, at worst, like a high IQ version of Julius Randle. That's essentially what he is, a bruising forward. But at best, we're talking about a guy who can be in the All-NBA conversation literally every single year of his career. I think Boozer, as we'll talk about later, assuming he is not number 1 to the Washington Wizards, we'll get into his fit, whether it's with Utah or with Chicago or with Memphis at one of those picks. But ultimately, I think he's the safest, but for Washington specifically, Dybantsa would be 1 on my board. And so I think if this is indeed the choice, they're making the right one.
Yeah, his offensive repertoire and his ability to get downhill and get to the free throw line, he is ready for the NBA, AJ Dybantsa. And the fact that he can get all of those foul calls and finish through contact, his package at the rim, it's incredible. I think this at the top of this draft, when you're looking at AJ Dybantsa, you're looking at Darryn Peterson, Caleb Wilson, and Cam Boozer. It is loaded top 1 through 4.
Yeah.
I just, if you're Washington, they got to get their guy, and I think AJ Dybantsa can't be a bad pick there. I think he's really talented.
I think ultimately, like, Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson are, in theory, the two highest upside players in the draft classes, which is why Washington has seemed so solely focused on Dybantsa and Peterson as their key players here that they're going to choose from. But ultimately, I do think for other teams with different objectives and different philosophies, you can certainly make the argument for either Caleb Wilson or Cam Boozer.
Yeah, Caleb Wilson definitely has a super high upside. I think he hadn't even scratched the surface of how good he could be offensively. I mean, defensively is where I think he makes his impact from day one. But offensively, when you see him in the gym with Chris Brickley, you see every workout video in which he is posting, he's intentionally trying to get better at being a jump shooter because he knows that he has to add that into his repertoire in order to have success in the league. So I think that if he can knock down a jumper at least, right, then slowly expand his bag off the dribble, get to his mid-post work, I think that he has another player with high upside.
Oh, 100%. I was about to say, and at the end of his college season, he experienced an injury, so we didn't see as much of him as we could have seen. But like you said, it felt like he was just scratching the surface and getting better every single possession.
I mean, if Caleb Wilson didn't get hurt, I mean, Hubert Davis probably still has a job.
Oh, yeah.
We're just being honest.
Tell the truth now. Come on.
Broke both hands.
It is a cold world here. But Adam Silver is up at the desk announcing the pick, the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft is AJ Dybantsa. You guys called it. The forward from BYU. So much potential, but I love that it feels like Washington got the pick right here. It's obviously a franchise that has had issues in years past and getting players to stay there. And so he really could be a piece that you can build around, so to speak.
Yeah, because he's phenomenal. And when you look at him, what he did in his work at BYU, he led the country in scoring, and that was cool. That was fine and dandy. But what I was most impressed with was his ability to be able to make people around him better. He had 11 games, right? That's 33% of the games in which he played. He had 5 assists or more. So when you look at that team, Rob Wright was great, but he was more of a 2 guard. He's not your traditional point guard. When AJ Dybantsa, when Kevin Young put him at that 1 spot, AJ Dybantsa was able to excel, and he was the one making plays. He was the one getting Rob Wright off the ball and putting Rob Wright in positions to be able to score. And when we talked to Kevin Young at the Combine, he said, I'm glad you asked that question. I'm glad you brought that up because that is his most underrated thing that nobody talks about. His ability to be able to pass at his size alongside score. There's not too many things that AJ Dybantsa cannot do on the floor.
And I think with that usage at BYU he had, where he had a 34% usage rate, had a 60% true shooting on that, and as well as the fact he got to the rim on 40% of his shots, King. He made 63% of those. Dybantsa, high volume player, high usage player, got to the rim at will in college without ideal spacing at BYU. And now you put him into the NBA where, in theory, AD and Sarr can space for you. You have Trae Young, Trey Johnson, you have Keyshawn George, other guys on this Washington roster that can set Dybantsa up. It's very possible that I think for Dybantsa, when it comes to his fit in the NBA, this is an ideal situation because in order to stay on the floor and get touches, you're going to have to defend. And Dybantsa said this week that he knows his biggest flaw was his off-ball defense at BYU. And I can't wait to see him prove that he can do that at a high level in the NBA on top of everything else that's made him a number 1 pick.
Nice you mentioned John Wall.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be closer to John Wall than it is Kwame Brown.
For Washington. Let's hope so for DC.
I hope so.
Because, guys, I'm telling you, the draft history of the Washington Wizards is not great. You look at historically, I ran the numbers that the production that you see from the Washington Wizards since 1989, which is the first year of the modern NBA draft when it went to 2 rounds, the Washington Wizards, it's tough when you got Kwame Brown on the sheet. They've had the lowest percent of their difference between expected production at the NBA level and how they actually delivered there with Atlanta, the Clippers, Kings, and Dallas there. And a lot of it is, Jan Vasily, you got Johnny Davis at 10, Otto Porter at 3. They haven't had those home run hits. I think Dybantsa, for me, if you're looking at upside, that's one thing. The other thing here, King, is the shot. 33% shooting from downtown. I feel like his form and mechanics, it's better than that, and I want him to show that he is a knockdown shooter from the perimeter.
He has to improve in that area, but you're right. Everything looks good, right? The mechanics, you're right. Everything looks good. So I think he can be a consistent shooter, but playing with a guy like Trae Young, who we know can get buckets, but he's also a pretty good facilitator. It can get him easy shots because when you look at it, Trae Young, Anthony Davis. Those will probably be your number 1 and number 2 options if Anthony Davis stays. Like, those are your 1 and 2 options, which means AJ Dybantsa now becomes a 3rd option, which means some of the isolation situations he was put in at BYU, he's not going to have to rely on those, so he can get easier shots, which I think automatically equates to his percentages rising.
I think also the good evidence for AJ Dybantsa is going back to high school. If you look at Synergy Sports, every free throw he's ever taken, almost 1,000 shots, he's made 80% of them. So I think for Dybantsa, free throw percentage historically is a better future predictor of three-point percentage than college three-point percentage, a very small sample. So I feel good about that for Dybantsa's future as a shooter.
Great point. I'm happy for the young man. Congratulations to AJ on being number 1. All right. The Utah Jazz are on the clock and the pick is in. Quickly, though, can I get maybe some predictions on where Utah needs to go here?
I think for the Utah Jazz, in all likelihood, we're going to see Darryn Peterson as the selection here. That said, according to my league sources, the Jazz have highly considered 2 of the other players on the board here, and that is Caleb Wilson and Cam Boozer. So if there's a shocker here with the 2nd pick, it could be Caleb Wilson, but ultimately I think we're going to see Kansas guard Darryn Peterson with this choice, creating a backcourt with Keontae George, and it's a great situation for him. Going to Utah, good coach, and I think a really good roster that could compete right away this year in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and Kev, don't forget, Carlos Boozer, former Utah Jazz, and also part of the consulting with the organization is there might be a link there, but ultimately if they feel like Darryn Peterson's the right pick, they're going to go with Darryn Peterson.
I think this is when the good draft gets interesting. I think
I
think there was a consensus number 1 with AJ, and I think right here, who knows? I've heard Cam Boozer. I haven't heard Caleb Wilson, but I trust KLC because KLC is one of the best in the business, right? So Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer, Darryn Peterson. I'm interested. I think this is when the draft actually gets interesting, though.
I mean, put it this way. I think with Danny Ainge and Austin Ainge and their history with the Boston Celtics, what have they've always done? They've taken swings. And so I think all of these guys, you can make the argument that Boozer is a swing to be a high-level player, but I think with Darryn Peterson, he has MVP potential with his perimeter gravity, the ability to make himself as a scorer, but also create for others off of that scoring gravity. And then, of course, with Caleb Wilson, we're talking about, as you said earlier, King, if Caleb Wilson someday becomes a guy who's making jumpers on top of the fact he's the best athlete in the draft at 6'9", lob threat, can attack off the dribble, and could be a high-level defender, Wilson has that star power, the plays that make you go, wow, sometimes. When you watch Caleb Wilson, sometimes it's like, wait a minute, is that Giannis? That's so special. So we'll see. I do think it'll be Peterson. It is.
To that point, they have the 30th ranked defense last year, and the historically the worst defense per possession historically. I wish there was a guy. Obviously, everyone wishes there was a Wemby in the draft, but that there was someone with as much of a defensive upside for the Utah Jazz, because I really do think they need so much help there. And Darryn Peterson looks like the pick is in.
Number 2 overall, going to the Utah Jazz. The 19-year-old, 6'4", we talked about his electric scoring ability, but I'm going to hit on the obvious here, the injuries. I mean, the huge conversation around Darryn Peterson throughout his freshman year of college was, is he healthy? The load management conversations, the not playing a full 40 minutes in big games that he needed to win. What's the concern here for picking Darryn at number 2, but not quite sure if he's healthy enough to be this franchise player?
I mean, there's definitely obviously concern with Darryn Peterson, but ultimately we're talking about a guy who's 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan. He's an absolutely unbelievable scorer. And at the high school level, we saw him on ball, running a high dose of pick and roll for prolific prep, and playing at a high level, both as a scorer from 3-point range, mid-range, getting to the basket, creating for others, averaging nearly 7 assists per game, low turnovers. And then in college, he looked like Ray Allen. He was dealing with an injury. The cramping thing is weird. It's super weird. It's very weird. The creatine story feels like it's just an excuse to me. From people I've talked around the league, it very well could be. But in my conversations with GMs and executives around the league, is it does seem like whatever actually was causing it has been figured out. And from what I understand in workouts, he looks explosive. He told me when I interviewed him on Monday that he's just as explosive as he was back in high school. And I believe that to be true in my conversations. And so I think for the Utah Jazz, a team that did turn over every stone, did think about Cam Boozer, did think about Caleb Wilson, 2 very high-level options for them to choose Darryn Peterson with their success in their draft history. I think that alone, that choice, is a testament of where Peterson is today and what he could become in the NBA.
You know, KLC, I just think this team handled it wrong. I think they handled the situation wrong.
Kansas, that is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think they handled the situation wrong. They should have handled it better. But nonetheless, when we talk about his game, my biggest concern is, can he be an on-ball playmaker? Yes, we saw it in high school, but we know that there's levels to this. So when you get to Kansas to have 38 turnovers and 38 assists, to me as a one-to-one guy, your sample size isn't good enough. Now, we know his big moments were extremely big. They were extremely loud. My man is an elite level scorer and will fill it up with the best of them. But I want to see if he can grow into a high-level playmaker, which I do think he has a skill set to be able to, but I want to see it first.
It is wild to think that Caleb Wilson had a higher assist rate than Darryn Peterson. And we're thinking of Darryn Peterson as a guy who's the engine of an NBA offense. I think when we think about Ray Allen, I think he's probably closer to the Boston Celtics, Miami Heat Ray Allen, whereas earlier in Ray Allen's career, he was a guy who could create for others and have the ball in his hands. And my question, KOC, is like, do you think it was the system that he was playing in that he wasn't able to get those playmaking opportunities? Because it is, for me, not maybe a red flag, but it is something I'm flagging.
I mean, as we talked about in my podcast, I think with like that assist percentage, it is concerning, undoubtedly, Tom. I think it's two things. It is partially the Bill Self system. I think it is also the fact that Bill Self couldn't trust Peterson to be on the floor, and so therefore he couldn't empower him to run the offense because he didn't know if he'd have Peterson. I mean, Peterson sat out a game against Arizona 15 minutes before the game because he had a super high fever. He had flu, and he wasn't able to play. And so, like, there was just certain weird things that happened over the year, whether it was due to the strain he had in his leg, whether it was due to the cramping, whether it was due to the flu. It was a weird year for Peterson, but it's very possible we look back years from now with Peterson as the number 2 pick in the draft, and we're like, wow, that Kansas year should have been forgotten and forgiven. That's very possible when we look back.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about right now is that the clock resets and everything just starts over. So whatever he does from this day forward, who cares about what happened in college? Who cares that you were cramping and you might have subbed yourself out? I don't care. You go to the Jazz, you go average 20 for the next 4 or 5 years, you get that max contract, and like you said, KOC, down the line, we do not care. We will joke about it. Remember when he was subbing himself out and catching cramps, and now he's an NBA All-Star 5 times?
We won't care if he's an NBA All-Star, but we will care if it's a bust.
Now, if it's a bust, that's the only way that we'll care.
These issues continuing.
I mean, to that point, Dylan Harper, we don't remember that Rutgers didn't win last year. Now that Dylan Harper is looking as an absolute stud. So, yeah, we'll forget about college if he balls out.
But you know who we do remember that with Ace Bailey, though.
We will not forget
on the same team
now. Ace Bailey.
We do remember that Ace Bailey,
Is it a no-brainer that Memphis is going with Cam Boozer here? Is that the easy pick, or is
no-brainer? I think that's the word, no-brainer for the Memphis Grizzlies. Cam Boozer, number 1 player on my board. Boozer, his ability to impact winning has happened at every level. Of course, Duke fell short. They did not win the national championship, but what did we see from Boozer the entire year? The ability to post up and bruise players from the post, to back down people, to run pick and roll as a ball handler, to come off of screens and shoot threes, to set screens and operate out of the short roll, to be a guy who can play make from the elbow area and facilitate for others. He can literally do everything on offense, and when people question his defense, I think we underrate, again, like we talked about earlier in the context of guards, the hustle and IQ that Boozer has. He has improved throughout his life as a shooter to become a knockdown guy. I'm betting on Cam Boozer to become a productive NBA defender, and he's supported by Zach Edey and a really good Memphis Grizzlies roster. I think for Memphis, this is a no-brainer.
I think there's 2 ways to look at this, because I think the elephant in the room is what are we going to do with John Morant? You can keep John Morant, or you can let him go. Either way,
he's out of here, King.
But that's my point. But either way, you can still play through Cam Boozer. Like the pick is in. You can still play through Cam Boozer. And if you keep John Morant, I think he makes the game easier for John Morant because there's less pressure because he's not the same player that he once was. But if you let him go, the offense still goes through this young man right here.
Yeah, number 3 pick is Cam Boozer. I told you I'm working with all-stars. They know before they even know. Obviously, the tremendous forward from Duke. King, I'm going to reference something that you said to me off the air, which was that Cam might be your favorite pick in the first round because he's not going to have to change his game once he goes to the NBA. He's going to have to be the same in terms of his efficiency, the way he tacked downhill, the way he shoots the basketball. I'm not sure there are too many other picks where we can say they won't have to do drastic things to elevate their game. He's going to be a seamless fit.
And what KOC said earlier, it's the IQ. That's why. He's arguably the smartest player in this draft. You could tell by the way he plays. I mean, at Duke, John Shaw was putting him in all types of positions. Like KLC said, off the pick and roll as a ball handler, setting the screen, getting him into the short roll, putting him in the mid post, double comes. Now he's able to kick out. A very underrated passer. His ability to be able to see before things happen in that short roll when the defense collapses, that thing is already out of his hands.
Yeah.
He processes things a play ahead, and that's what I was so impressed with him about. And he can pick and pop. He can do so many things. I do think that he will not have to change his game much in order to have success. He's guaranteed to have, this is the one dude that's guaranteed to have success immediately.
In this Grizzlies roster, you look at where they are now, and they're probably trading Ja Morant or getting rid of Ja Morant in some capacity. They got rid of Desmond Bane, got rid of Darryn Jackson Jr., and now they got Zach Edey, Cam Boozer, of course, Cedric Coward, who I loved in last year's draft class, looking like a major steal. They got Jalen Wells and these solid young players off the bench. Max Prosper looked really good. Ryan Rupert at a 30-point triple-double. I mean, out of France, I love French players. They got so much. Cam Spencer, they have so much good young talent on this team that I think the Grizzlies are certainly looking like the bright future Grizzlies. And I'm very excited about where this roster's going now with Boozer at the lead.
Yeah, I love this. I think this is the steal of the draft. Obviously, I was big on him going at number 1 potentially. But when you look at historically, when we look at the draft, the guys who are the best are the ones that outperform. It's the sons of NBA players. Look at this list here. Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Al Horford. These are all all-stars whose father also played in the NBA. And Carlos Boozer, of course, longtime NBA vet, 2-time All-Star. The thing about Cameron Boozer, he looked like a winner at Duke and proceeded to sweep the Player of the Year awards. And I think with that guy right next to him, Carlos Boozer, there's something about the intel that you get growing up in an NBA locker room and in the NBA lifestyle, that guys like Dylan Harper, Jalen Brunson, they outperform their draft slot by 26% on average. And I think Carlos Boozer, being the father of Cam, in a weird way, it makes me like Cam Boozer's prospect even more than what he did at Duke, which was outstanding.
Yeah, can we all agree that this is probably a Rookie of the Year?
I think there's a great chance of that.
Love the bold take.
Is there.
If Trae Young wasn't in Washington, maybe you get the ball more to
AJ, yes.
Well, and then Peterson and Utah is in a situation where there's going to be a lot of guys with the ball in their hands, a lot of buckets for Lowry Markkanen and Jaren Jackson and Keontae George can take a leap. So I think if you're placing a Rookie of the Year bet, I like Cam Boozer.
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Guys, let's head to Chicago, who's got the 4th pick. They were 31-51 last season. A new head coach hired last week. What is the best available that you feel like is left, Kev?
Caleb Wilson, without a doubt, is best available for the Bulls. Best athlete in the draft. Saw him at North Carolina last year. He had his moments against Kansas and against Duke where the jumper was falling and you're like, oh my God, how is this guy not the number 1 pick in the draft? Well, it's because the shot was very inconsistent. But other than that, very high-level defensive player, very versatile, very active. He plays hard. He's the type of guy who's got that mindset you need, the motor king, and to be that type of player. And offensively, the dude in Chicago, now playing with a passer like Josh Giddey, Modest Buzelis, Noah Ascendia. They just got Nick Claxton. They need a real point guard. They need a true guard. Maybe they'll get that guy with their 15th pick in the draft. But here for Caleb Wilson, lobs for days. I mean, he's gonna be finishing loudly at the rim a lot.
You know, I loved Caleb Wilson. I fell in love with Caleb Wilson when I'm watching the game. I forgot who they were playing. But I see my man picking up 94 feet on a point guard. Mind you, this kid is 6'9". He's 6'9", right? He's picking up a point guard who was about 6'2". Not only is he picking them up, he's staying in front. He's causing havoc. He's creating problems on the defensive side. His willingness, and his ability to be able to do that, immediate impact on day one.
King, let's not forget, Tiago Splitter's the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. And you know who picked up 94 feet more than anybody is, of course, the guy that the box, Tamani Kamara. He's a guy, Tiago Splitter, taking over for the head coaching duties with Chicago. When they had a guy who can guard 1 through 5 or pick up 94 feet like Caleb Wilson can at UNC, Tiago Splitter is going to be a guy who loves this type of defensive output from a guy like Caleb Wilson. Remember, Denny Avdia didn't have a jump shot going into the Washington Wizards organization. They move him to Portland, and then he thrives in Tiago Splitter's system. So I think with the defense of Caleb Caleb Wilson and the lob threats. We talked about Donovan Clingan and Rob Williams in Portland last year. They were one of the best duos in finishing lobs, alley-oop threats. They're going to love Caleb Wilson if he is the pick.
They definitely need a guard, though. I mean, I think they had 8 on their roster last year as they were trying to tank, and they successfully did to move up. But ultimately, we're going to find out here that it is Wilson.
Yeah, it's a huge favorite. He's did all his pre-draft visits with Chicago, and it is Caleb Wilson, the forward from UNC, that is going to the Windy City. Congratulations to the young man. You guys like this pick. You like his potential. Let me ask, though, what's a hole in his game that he may need to fill in the first couple months of getting acquainted?
Well, obviously his shooting. I mean, he shot 26% from 3 last year. That's no secret, but he has been working on that, so we'll see how that translates and how that looks. But my other concern is his frame. He has a very thin frame. Can he put on weight? But a lot of times guys put on weight and lose their explosion. So can he put on the right type of weight to be able to still have that same level of vertical pop and explosion that he's continued to have his whole career? So that's my question. What type of weight will he be able to put on? I mean, I think he's in a great place to be able to help him do that. But to me, it's his frame. Can his frame get bigger?
Yeah, and I think the frame is a big one, King. We talked about the shooting earlier. I don't think it's catastrophic that he shot 26% from 3, 71% from the line. There's a chance he figures that out. You know, the touch finishing at the rim, aside from dunks, is a little concerning too. 46% on layups, 38% on floaters. But that said, if he's going to be a star-level player, it's going to have to really start on the defensive end of the floor. He's 211 pounds, needs to get bigger, and he has a bit of an aloofness off ball sometimes, some missed rotations. I think a part of that is the North Carolina system. They played with 2 or 3 bigs sometimes out there, but ultimately in the NBA, I don't think he's necessarily the sole anchor. He reminds me of Jaren Jackson Jr. in that sense, where Jackson Jr. in Memphis was at his best next to Steven Adams. So finding a big, bruising center, I think, is going to be important for Chicago.
You know who I like as a comp for him is Pascal Siakam, who had one made three-pointer.
Yes.
One made three-pointer his rookie season, didn't develop the three-point shot until later in his career. So I do think that Pascal Siakam, with the energy that he plays, originally a role player for the Toronto Raptors on the championship team, but developed into like a bruising downhill fast break guy, high energy, plays both ends of the floor. Siakam, to me, is kind of the same build and the skill set that Caleb Wilson can bring out the get-go defensively, like Pascal Siakam, but I do think later on, a lot of these guys, they don't have the jumper right away, but they develop. A guy like Gerald Wallace, who's just super high energy, able to be an all-star based on his energy and defensive framework. But I think all the offensive stuff can come on down the line in the NBA, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I think it's safe to say he's a long-term prospect, right? I think you'll get your greatest reward in about 4 or 5 years when he develops. But I think from day one, he automatically makes the Bulls a better defensive team. I think that's where he will make his mark. That's where Tiago Splitter will love him the most because of what he can do and how he can make an impact on that side of the basketball. But offensively, I think this is more of a long-term pick, right?
Yeah.
You can expect him to maybe knock down a few threes early on. When you talk about developing your bag, what you can do one-on-one, can you get to your spots, ice, and rise up? That's more of a long-term thing.
Yeah, I got to learn the game and get comfortable. Listen, you guys told me that the first maybe 1 through 4 picks were going to be some forwards, some wings, and then everybody else that's maybe to come is pretty much point guards or guards that are on the basketball. So we've got the LA Clippers that are on the clock next. I'll start with you, Tom. Anyone that you feel like they need to go with?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, on my big board, Mara is my guy at the number 5.
The one
now,
big
that's
center
a reach.
that's left.
It's a reach, and some people believe that's way too high for a talent like that. But you just saw they traded Ivica Zubac to the Indiana Pacers because I think they knew they want to get that next guy. Niederhauser, is that him? Or is it a guy like Mara that they potentially get at number 5? Or do they go with a guard? Because right now you're seeing they got Darius Garland at the point guard position. So really, there is so much question here at number 5 for the Clippers. And do they trade back?
There's a lot on the table for the Clippers here. I mean, according to my sources, I reported in my final mock draft that it's probably going to be either Keaton Wagler from Illinois or Michael Brown being the potential other option from Louisville. However, there is the talk about them potentially just taking Wagler and trading down with Atlanta with the 8th pick, or taking Darius Acuff from Arkansas and forcing the Kings to move up to take him as well. So I think there's different ways the Clippers could go here. They've been highly connected to Braden Burries as well out of Arizona. I think Burries is really only an option if they trade down to 7 or 8. But ultimately, it seems like it'll be guard here for the Clippers unless they shock everybody and go with like a Nate Ament or a Aday Mara, something like that.
I think you have to go with a guard, not just any guard, but a guard that can play alongside Darius Garland.
Does Garland change your decision making though? He's got 2 years left.
Yeah, he does, because if there's no Darius Garland, then now you can go Darius Acuff. Now you can go Kingston Flemings. You can have a guy who can run the show, but you need a guard that can honestly be a combo that can play on the ball sometimes with Darius Garland's out, because we know sometimes he can, be susceptible to injuries. But you also need a guard that when he's in can play alongside of him, like a Keaton Wagler or like a Michael Brown. Not a true necessarily point guard, because if there's no Garland, it's no doubt in my mind, I'm going Darius Acuff right here.
Well, I think that's the thing though, King. Like if you're, let's say you're in the Clippers front office and you are like, Acuff is my 4th ranked player, my 5th ranked player, we should go with him. Why is Garland, with 2 years left on his contract when he's played only a handful of games, changing your decision making with him?
Because how do you pair them together?
I take the best player and I flip Garland. I send Garland to the streets.
Not to the streets.
That's something I would do. I would flip. I don't know to the streets, but I would definitely flip my man for sure.
Well, if you like Acuff that much, you'll do anything.
You're right.
We like Acuff a lot.
You can get in trouble by staying with a veteran who might not be as talented, but think about the Sacramento Kings. Would they rather have Tyrese Halliburton or De'Aaron Fox? And I think in this pick here, we'll see what the Clippers do at number 5.
Little drama and suspense for those watching.
Wagler.
Keaton Wagler, the guard from Illinois. Super smooth on the basketball, good pick and roll player, a nice passer as well, but felt like as we watched him throughout the season, his game really started to flourish and very comfortable from 3, KOC.
He had his 46-point breakout game against Purdue where he just showed off literally everything with his 3-level scoring ability in that game, pulling up from outside, pulling up from mid-range, scoring on switches against bigger players, showing his size at 6'5" against the smaller guys on that Purdue defense. 40% from 3 on the season on nearly 6 attempts per game. An elite assist-to-turnover ratio, ran 578 pick and rolls last year at Illinois as a freshman with 1.1 points per play. I interviewed him on Monday and asked him, did you expect to be a one and done? He was 5'8" as a freshman in high school, had a late growth spurt. Nobody thought he'd be here as the 5th pick in the NBA draft. And I think this is a testament to just how far he's grown in just 1 year. And he does fit next to Darius Garland.
And then the one thing I love about him the most is he just plays at his own pace.
Yes.
Right? I know there's a lot of questions in the air about, is he athletic enough? Does he have that pop to be able to get by guards and all of this? I don't care. Look at Luka Doncic, right? If you can play, you can play. This is a master of angles. The fact that he can master angles means he can get to wherever he wants to on the floor because he can open up the defender's hips. And we've seen so many times he got to the lane, that slow step Euro, or he plants his foot and allows the defender to blow by. They say he doesn't dunk, he's not athletic enough. I don't care. If this dude can hoop, he can hoop, and that's all that matters. The production was there, and I think this young man is extremely talented, and he showed that he belongs. When Kylan Boswell went out, that was the greatest thing for this young man because he was able to show the world what he could do.
Yeah, when you look at him, I just see so much Halliburton as the big guard who plays at his own pace, and he's got this funky shot where you don't really trust it, but then the numbers show you, hey, he can get buckets. And I think also the Clippers here are trying to dispel the notion that they can't draft. Historically, they've got some whiffs, swings and misses at the top of the draft. Michael Olowokandi also, when we talk about them and the different names that have come up with the Clippers, they do not want to have another Shai Gilgeous-Alexander situation where they draft him and then say, you know what, we're going to move off of this guy to bring in a win now player in Paul George. I think they got to stick with this guy. Even if Darius Garland is there on the team, I still think the size difference, because Darius is a much smaller guard and they're two very different skill sets. So I do think that for the Clippers, even though they've had such a tough history in the draft, I do think this is a good pick.
Yeah, this is their highest pick since taking Blake Griffin, #1 in 2009. So they're hoping that Wagler
I mean,
comes out to be something.
Think about the 50-50 deal that they did with the Indiana Pacers, and now they get a talent like this.
Insane. I mean, that's such a bummer for the Pacers on lottery night, and now this is an opportunity here where the Pacers saw a bunch of guards after the top four and like, you know what, we'll take our chances. But they sure would have loved to have been drafting here at number 5, especially given the amount of teams that were at least making an attempt to trade up. It does seem like the Clippers will not be trading out of this pick. They're going to be keeping Keaton Wagler, but still, I think now at 6 and 7 and 8, there's still an opportunity for either teams to trade down, possibly trying to get up, maybe to go get Acuff, possibly to jump somebody else and get Mara. I could see that potentially as well, but so far, no trades, despite, like many years, a lot of talk about what trades could happen, and then so far, no trades.
But I will say in these next 2 picks with 6 and 7 in Brooklyn and Sacramento, I do think we'll see, this is where we see the point guards come out. Because both of these franchises need point guards, right? They need guards who can head the ship and who can be those dudes to take them to where they want to go and they can build around. And you have 2, well, technically you got 3 if you want to count Michael Brown as a point guard. Do we count Michael Brown as a point guard? I don't know if I really count him as a point guard.
Can play the one.
Just the guard. Big umbrella, you know.
I don't know if I'm gonna throw him the keys and be like, hey, bro, you run my show. You know what I'm saying? No, you don't feel me?
I don't think so.
You're not picking up what I'm putting down.
How often do you really do that? Who's a Chris Paul in the NBA? No,
but that's what I'm saying.
Halliburton, that's about it.
But that's why we have a Darius Acuff and a Kingston Flemings who I think you can actually do that with. You know?
I definitely agree with you on Darius Acuff. Kingston Flemings is one of my favorites in this draft, just because of his defensive ability, the way that he plays at the rim. KOC, we're taking a look at your big board on who's left and available right now, and Brooklyn is on the clock with their number 6 pick in this draft.
Be surprised if it's not Michael Brown, not just because he's the top-ranked player remaining on my board, but they've been connected to either Brown or Wagler for a long time now. About a month ago around the draft combine, I reported that they had a lot of interest in Nate Ament and Aday Mara, the center out of Michigan. So there's a chance they surprise people here, just like they did a year ago when they took Yegor Dioman with their 8th pick in the draft. So maybe this year we do see a shocker, but from my understanding is Michael Brown's circle expected it to be Brooklyn around the early afternoon earlier today. So we'll see if that is the choice. So
if you do go Michael Brown here, does that mean that they are believers in Yegor Dioman?
I think it's a believer in Michael Brown more than anything else, in the sense that it's like Brown can be one of the guys running the show. Like maybe not the guy. I think Yegor is one of the guys too, not a primary. But I think with Brown and Yeoman and like whoever else pans out from their picks last year, they probably have a vision to be a team that has multiple ball handlers, multiple creators.
I'm looking at that. That's horrible.
What?
Just a reminder that the Nets had 5 first-round picks last year.
I don't think you worry about the picks last year. I think you get the best player. To me, it's Acuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if Michael is the pick here.
Okay, well, Adam Silver is at the podium announcing, and it is Michael Brown Jr.
Oh, man, KOC got the intel.
Yeah, I'm telling you. All-stars.
I'm working hard over here.
KOC, you're 6 for 6 right now, KOC. You can't miss. We're relying on you right now.
That's not true. I mean, I was 6 for 6 during the draft, but in my mock earlier, I had Michael at 5. But so that's not quite true. But yes, I think here for the Brooklyn Nets, Michael Brown, you're getting a guy that I have 5th ranked on my personal board this year. I think Brown could be an absolute stud. It was an up and down year for him at Louisville this year. He dealt with a back injury that actually dogged him going back to when he was in the overtime elite. But 6'4", 6'8" wingspan. There is no more dynamic elite athlete at the guard position in this year's draft class. The way he gets to the rim and finishes loudly. He's had dunks with the right hand, with the left hand. He can jump off either foot. He's the type of guy that can pull up from mid-range, can pull up from 3, throws jump passes. Sometimes he looks like Manu Ginobili to me. I know it's sacrilegious to even bring up the name Manu as a comparison, but just the flair and the energy he plays with on both ends of the floor. I think Michael Brown has a chance to be a steal in this year's draft class, and for him to go to Brooklyn, I mean, hey, fill those seats, get a really fun player in Michael.
I love that comp. I have him in my notes as a smooth, fluid operator. Like, that is how I saw him throughout the course of this last season in college basketball.
Yeah, and they need to make sure that they get a guy who can run the offense at a high level. You got Julius Randle on the team now. Who knows what happens with Julius Randle this season? They move Nick Claxton in the deal, but they really do need an A-level operator at the point guard position, and they really believe in Michael.
Yeah, I'll take it to the game when they played against NC State. I mean, that 45-point performance, we talk about Keaton Wagler, what he did against Purdue. Well, that performance against NC State, when Michael Brown lit it up, that can go shot for shot. That goes pound for pound with that performance. But my question is, can he become a more efficient scorer? Only 41% from the field, 34% from behind the arc. He needs to improve his efficiency, and I think sometimes that's due to him settling for jumpers, right? When we look at his 270 field goals, 160 of them were threes. I think sometimes he settles because he can get by guys, but he wants to, first and foremost, shoot that tray off the pick and roll, off the isolation situation. Yeah. I think sometimes he settles a little too much. Can he become more efficient is the name of the game for him, because I think his upside is through the roof. I do think he can be a star in this league if he can improve his efficiency and get better quality shots.
And watching Louisville play throughout college basketball season, they shot the three more as the season also went on.
Yeah,
so I'm wondering too, my goodness, I'm wondering too if that was just the system that he was in and not reflective of what he would normally play like at the next level.
I mean, it's hard to say, right?
Yeah.
I think with somebody like him, you don't know, and now he's going to kind of a clean slate system with Brooklyn. And they're a young team. He might have freedom. He might develop bad habits, but it's also possible this team starts looking competent next year with all their young guys. They still have another first-round pick at number 28. My sources have said the Nets are one of the many teams in the 20s trying to move up into the teens. So we'll see where Brooklyn actually ends up with all their draft capital they have to play with in trade negotiations. But ultimately, I think with Brown, the thing that makes me feel so confident with him and figuring that aspect out that you're talking about, and rightfully so, is just the mindset he plays with. Everybody I've talked to says he approaches the game with a really mature mindset. He wants to grow. He wants to get better. And you see that on defense. Some guards don't put in great effort on defense. He's flying around. He had a game with 5 steals, 2 or 3 steals, 4 steals, and a bunch of other games. And that was despite the fact he was dealing with injury. With a 6'8" wingspan, that energy and that enthusiasm he plays with, I'm expecting Michael Brown to be a really good player long term.
You know, I think part of the thing that we don't talk about is the injuries. I think we were so heavy on Darryn Peterson that Michael Brown just kind of was like, hey, let me just hide over here in the corner. Nobody's going to say anything about me, right? But I do think the amount of games he missed, I don't think it's a concern, but I do think that it raises some questions. But no doubt, for him to be taken at 6 by Brooklyn, they've done their research. They feel comfortable with this pick, and I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, Tom, I want to give you an opportunity to react to the Julius Randle deal and trade. I know you talked about it. We were off air a little bit, but you thought this was pretty interesting. Yeah,
when you talk about Julius Randle, a guy that was a 20-10 machine, it's statistically, he had a great career so far, but in the postseason, it kind of fell apart for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They moved not just Julius Randle, but the number 28 pick in order to moved back to number 33 in a salary dump. So this is the Brooklyn Nets taking advantage of this situation. They get Michael Brown, and also they get Julius Randle here. The Minnesota Timberwolves are trying to shave the cap or a lot of the money off the books in order to give Ayo Dosunmu, bring him back at a higher number. The Brooklyn Nets have a new era here, and I think they might miss out. Me personally, I would have liked Acuff better for the Brooklyn Nets.
I agree.
I think the
Kings are going to get their wish. They're going to get Acuff at 7.
Sacramento Kings draft Darius Acuff at 7. Probably my favorite guard to watch in college basketball last season. He's just so dynamic. A little Iverson-esque, you could describe him as. King, I'll start with you and just maybe the ceiling for Darius Acuff.
He's an all-star. I really do think that. I think that he is. We talk about a guy like Cam Boozer who doesn't have to change much in his game to be successful. Well, I think Darius Acuff is up there, right? I mean, maybe not to the same degree, but I think he's up there. He can run the show right now. 7th in the country in scoring, 13th in the country in assists. I mean, in the SEC tournament, I'm sitting there in my hotel watching this game, watching this young man completely terrorized Vanderbilt. And we're talking about 2 of the best defensive guards in Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles, not just in the SEC, but in the country. And he was giving them fits all night. His ability to be able to literally put people in positions to succeed off the pick and roll, reading the tag. There's nothing that he can't do outside of quote unquote defend. But when we talked to him at the combine, he said it just comes down to a matter of him putting in more effort.
Yeah.
He has to be more attentive in that area and actually be intentional about giving effort to be able to defend. I don't think it's a lack of being able to defend. It's just a lack of effort. And I think that he'll give that more when he's not asked to do so much.
And I think that's part of it, King, right? Like, I think if you're looking at Darius Acuff, there's so many social clips people have posted online about him being the worst defender in the NBA as soon as he steps forward, even worse than like the Trae Young types over the last decade. Look, it's possible that he's just going to be a horrific defender, but the one thing that I look at with Acuff that is like encouraging to me is the fact that in high school he entered Arkansas with a reputation of being a ball hog. But what happened at Arkansas? He looked like a great playmaker, making guys better, flinging it around, kick out passes, like passing it to the corner, across the court with accuracy and good timeliness and selflessness. He wasn't just dribbling the air out of the ball. He operated off ball next to Malik Thomas sometimes. They used him off of screens. He made nearly 50% of his catch and shoot 3-pointers last year. He showed he can play without the ball, and he showed he can play make. So if the Kings require him to play defense with his size and length, he has a 6'7" wingspan. He's 186 pounds. He's strong. I think Acuff can adapt and do what's necessary to help his team most.
He has good shoulders too. Good.
Very strong.
Very broad shoulders. I think he's more than capable defender.
Can I just say something?
No.
You can celebrate, Kings fans. The Kings fans can celebrate right now. I feel like they need this pick to pan out, and I really believe the star power with this guy might be the biggest in the class in terms of the ability to elevate his game when it matters most in the conference play, in the conference tournament, and in the NCAA tournament. I don't know if there is a play that a player in college basketball that made me eyes glued to the screen like Acuff. What he did for Arkansas last year, and I will say the Kings need this so badly. The Kings have been the laughingstock of the NBA for so long, and now they get this guy. I really hope it pans out. I love this pick for them. He fell to number 7, and I do think that if they play their cards right, this pick right here can turn around the entire franchise.
Might be that lucky number 7.
It honestly might be the best case scenario for him to fall to 7.
Yeah.
Because I think this is one of the few situations where the keys are, hey, here you go. It's almost like when you're 16 years old, you finally can drive. You get your license. Here you go. This is your show. You do what you do. You lead us to the promised land. So I think this might have been the perfect situation for him to fall to 7.
I think the stars aligned for the Kings. They wanted Acuff. This is who they've wanted to target through their entire pre-draft process as soon as they fell. Scott Perry coached with Acuff's father, has a relationship with him since the 90s. They're all from Detroit. They have a relationship there. So I think with Acuff, this seems like destiny in some ways for him. And I think for Sacramento, as you said earlier, Tom, it's reason to celebrate here. They drafted some solid young players last year. Maxime Renel has a chance to be really good. I still think Nick Clifford has a chance to be a really good player as well. And now you get Darius Acuff to be the leader of that team. He has leadership qualities with the way he runs an offense and his maturity off the court as well. This is somebody to build a franchise around. And so I think for the Sacramento Kings, this feels like the start of a new era. And I'm very happy for those Kings fans that have suffered a lot. And got teased. Kings fans got teased with the light the beam. That year was so fun. And it feels like a different lifetime, doesn't it?
Yes.
It does.
Hopefully
it really
Acuff
does.
can bring them back. I'm with you guys. An easy player also to root for. Thank you guys for tuning in and sticking with us. That's King McClure, Tom, and KOC. If you're watching on the Yahoo Sports Network, we're going to take a brief break. Won't be long. But if you're elsewhere, KOC is about to respond to some YouTube comments. It's going to get a little spicy. I've heard we've got some
give us some good
notes
KOC
over here.
Yeah, I mean, you guys should get active in the chat here. I mean, like hit us up with what your thoughts are so far on the draft here. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, we get Atlanta here on the clock too. I think with the Hawks. Maybe we'll see a Kingston Flemings possibly. I think Flemings could be possible. A guard here. They wanted Wagler from the conversations I had with people, but obviously Wagler is off the board. He went 5th. Burries I think could be possible too, but I think Flemings is that kind of natural successor to CJ McCollum here for Atlanta.
You know what's interesting? There hasn't been any trade yet in the top 7, and I feel like maybe that means that everyone knew who their guy was, and so there was no risk of having to jump up to go get a guy that you really wanted. It seems like if the Sacramento Kings wanted to, if they really wanted Acuff, maybe you trade up to make sure you get your guy. But maybe their intel, everyone kind of knew how this draft was going to go, the fact that there have been no trades up to this point.
No trade so far, and hey, sometimes
it's an
that's
early
the way
night.
it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an early night, but at the same time, how many times has this happened, Tom? Every year we talk about all the trades that are being talked about. I had conversations with some sources earlier today over the phone, and they said the price to move into the top 10 is extremely high, and that they were beginning to express doubt that anything was actually going to happen. We'll see if a team does have willing to pay the price. OKC obviously has 12 and 17. Milwaukee has 10 and 13, and Charlotte has 14 and 18. I do think there are some teams that have the ammo, but are you willing to give up 2 picks in a really deep draft to move up just a handful of spots?
Negative.
I'm not so sure if we're going to see that actually happen.
Negative.
What's the big question with Atlanta?
I think with Atlanta, how do you build off of what you started last year with all the massive progress? You traded Trae Young, clean slate, Quinn Snyder's offense finally began to take shape. And now how do you capitalize off that? We know they re-signed CJ McCollum already. Is this a moment here where you draft your next guard? Is this a moment where you draft a big? We'll find out right here.
Atlanta goes with Kingston Flemings. We
KLC,
told you it's going to be guards from
He's
here
on fire.
on out. The guard from Houston, talk about a really nice two-way player. Was high in his assist numbers as well, just over 5, but doesn't have a ton of height, but certainly I think can make a difference at the next level.
You know, what I was so impressed with is there's a few things. Number one is this young man's maturity. I think the way when you talk to him, the way he speaks, the way he carries himself, I think that's extremely high level. But for me, the decision to go to a program like Houston, that's not an easy place to play the game of basketball.
No, it is not.
You are going to get tested. You are going to be put in positions that are going to make you uncomfortable, but Kelvin Sampson does that intentionally to make you a better player. Kingston Flemings was on nobody's draft board coming into the year. He goes to Houston. He accepts the challenge. He embraces the defensive side. He learns how to grow up and mature in Kelvin Sampson's system with all the pressure on him, because when's the last time we've seen a freshman guard be able to run the show for Houston? He does all of that and now becomes the number 8 pick in the draft. I think that this young man, his willingness to be able to defend, to embrace the physicality, to go through hard things, tells me everything I need to know about him, and he is going to have success running this Atlanta offense. Plus, when you look at him and his ability to be able to go up and down the floor, that electric speed, mix that with Jalen Johnson and some of the other wings, goodness gracious.
I think the thing that's so funny about him is he played in a Houston offense that had no spacing.
None.
JoJo
None.
Tugler, Christian Ack, and now he's going to be going to a Hawks team that has
No
space. But space.
Yes.
It is like all space, like sometimes too much space for the Hawks, and you're going to see just one of the fastest guards in Flemings. You're going to see him, I think, unleashed with his ability to get to the cup, kick out passes to corner three-point shooters, finish with athleticism and theatrics around the basket. The key question to me for Flemings isn't really his size, because I think he has the effort and the mindset. He's so tough. I don't worry about that as much. To me, it's about extending the range from mid-range to three-point range. He was a very low-volume three-point shooter last year at Houston. Does he successfully do that for a rookie season, or is that going to have to be something that happens more down the line? Fortunately for him, in this Atlanta team, he's in a situation where they have CJ McCollum, they have veterans, other ball handlers to alleviate the pressure. He does not have to be savior.
Shot 38% on low volume threes, though.
Yeah, when we look at the teams that are picking here with Brooklyn, Sacramento, and Atlanta, it's like they knew that this was going to be a point guard heavy draft, because you look at Cam Thomas and Brooklyn, they cut ties with their ball handler and Cam Thomas and say, hey, get out of here. And then you look at Atlanta, trading Trae Young in a year loaded at the point guard position. They get Flemings here. And of course, you got Acuff with the Sacramento Kings. They trade De'Aaron Fox the 2 trade deadlines ago, and they get their point guard of the future here with Acuff. And now you're seeing Atlanta, they needed a guy like this in order to project going forward. Who is the guy to replace Trae Young? And they've got Dyson Daniels. They got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They got these dogs defensively, but you can't have too many of those guys on the team.
And I'm going to take it back to your point, KLC, with the shooting. Right, in low volume, but his mechanics scare me just a little bit. I don't love the mechanics of the jumper. He knocked them down 39% clip, but I don't love his mechanics. And I think if anything were to hold him back, it would be his perimeter shooting.
What about his mechanics?
I think it's really flat. It's a straight line drive. I think that when you look at his left hand, it's kind of sort of on top of the ball. I think it really spins the right way. The rotation is a little bit different. So I think the mechanics kind of scare me just a little bit. I'm not saying that you can't have a unorthodox jumper and not have success, because we've seen dudes in the league be able to have jumpers that don't typically look the part, but they go in. However, all I'm saying is, his mechanics scare me just a little bit, but I still think he'll have success because of everything else around him. But he has to be able to knock down jumpers in order to gain that respect.
Yeah, totally. And be interested to see with more attempts overall how that percentage continues to go up or flatten out a little bit. But the Mavs are on the clock right now with the 9th pick. The huge news for the Mavs is that they hired the reigning national championship head coach, Dusty May, who won with Michigan, the NCAA tournament. Is it a possibility that Morez Johnson could be a good pick here?
I think we're going to see a Michigan Wolverine here. I'd be a little bit surprised unless there's
a little favoritism?
Unless there's a trade down here. But I think for the Dallas Mavericks, if you're looking for Aday Mara or Morez Johnson both on the board here, either of them would make perfect sense for Dallas, particularly Morez Johnson with his literal 1-5 switchability, his ability to fight over screens as a guy who's 6'9", 251 pounds with a 7'5" wingspan. It's just otherworldly. And so I think for Dallas it would be a perfect complement next to Cooper Flagg for many years to come. On top of that, Dallas is the type of situation where he can play a little center for you. He looked like a much better three-point shooter last year at Michigan. And so I think for Dallas, Morez Johnson would be a reasonable pick if it's any of those Michigan guys.
What you got, Tom?
Can you imagine if you're Yaxel or Mara watching him if he gets selected here? This is going to be so awkward. I don't know. When you have a Dusty May basically coming on and being the head coach, let's see who gets picked.
Wow.
Morez Johnson Jr. The pick is in. Dusty May goes with someone he knows all too well, trusted, reliable. Talk about the motor that this young man plays with. I love this pick.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at him, what he did in the down low was impressive. I mean, 62% from the field, 72% at the rim. Like KOC alluded to, defensively is where I think he makes his mark. I mean, when you look at what he can do, he plays so hard, and his ability, his lateral quickness is so good that he can really stay in front of guards. When you put him on the perimeter and you switch at 6'9", when you switch 1 through 5, I think that he can really do a good job of making it tough on guards, and he has the wingspan to be able to contest jumpers. I like it. I mean, my question becomes, is he skilled enough to be able to move down to the 4? Because he's not a great shooter, doesn't have really a great handle. His game is really limited offensively. But defensively, I think he can guard for us. But can he play the 4 offensively? Does he kill the spacing for Cooper Flagg and the rest of the team when he's playing the 4? Because we also got to remember, we have Lively and Gafford at that 5 spot. So if you move Morez Johnson to the 4, does it kill spacing for Cooper Flagg?
I don't think so. I think I'm betting on Morez Johnson to figure it out as a shooter as well. The improvement he experienced from as a freshman in Illinois to his sophomore year at Michigan, he looked like a much better, much more comfortable spot-up shooter. And so I'm a believer there with him. And I think not only that, King, like more than anything else, the dude is just a winner.
He's a winner.
I had Dusty May on my podcast back in April before he was hired by the Mavericks head coach, and I talked to him about each of these Michigan prospects, and the thing that he said about Morez that stuck in my mind is he said anytime the Michigan Wolverines were having a day where the energy wasn't there in the bus, there's something off on the court, the staff would look at each other and be like, but we got Morez and they don't. and I just think that quote sums up the Morez Johnson experience. He is a winner through and through, constantly makes a winning impact, and you can survive with one non-shooter on the floor, and I don't think he's going to be a non-shooter.
What about Dusty May? What about his longevity as a head coach in the NBA? Do we believe in it? Do we not?
Well, this is what's crazy is, do they make this pick if he's not the head coach? You know, think about that. If he doesn't have the experience with Morez Johnson, do they select this pick at Michigan? Because, of course, Mike Schmitz, who is the new GM of the Dallas Mavericks, coming from the Portland Trailblazers last year, who made a big swing in Young Hansen. When you're looking at the ability to go get this guy, they're not on their tippy toes when it comes to making this pick. They are absolutely going all in here with a surprising pick, because to me, I like Aday Mara for them in terms of the defensive ability at the rim, and I think OKC is licking their chops right now. If that falls to number 12 with Yaxel or Mara, I think they're excited that neither of those two guys got picked here at number 9.
It's interesting. I mean, with OKC, there's been so much talk about trading up. Who were they targeting? There's been some rumors about Morez Johnson. There was rumors about Aday Mara. There was rumors about Keaton Wagler, for that matter, with who the actual target was for the Thunder. I'd imagine the true target was Aday, the 7'3" center, but ultimately we'll see here with the Bucks here with the 10th pick. Are they going to go with Nate Ament, a guy that they worked out in New York City? They traveled to New York to work him out a few weeks ago, and he really impressed them. They have the 13th pick as well. Maybe they wait for him there, knowing that the Thunder could take him 12. I think the Warriors also at 11 are a threat for Mara as well. So we'll see there if he ends up falling to the Thunder.
Wow, just an incredible story here
what a story.
For Dusty May to be able to be here for this. Look at that point. You know, when you talk about the program that they did, the system, King, at Michigan, where this is in an era where the college basketball system seems more pro than ever, bringing in a coach like Dusty. I don't think this is a case of John Calipari at New Jersey or Rick Pitino at Boston. I think this is a new era where I don't think the lines are as cut and dry between NBA and college.
You know, to your point, I think this system, you talk about what Dusty May did last year, it was Yaxel at the 3, it was Morez at the 4, and it was Mara at the 5. It's very similar to what we can see with the Mavericks, with Cooper Flagg being your 3, being your Mr. Do-It-All, a.k.a. Yaxel last year from Michigan, right? Morez at the 4, and then you could look at Lively and Gafford at that 5 spot. It could look very similar to the same type of identity that we saw Michigan be able to play with. So I don't hate it. I don't love it. I gotta admit, I don't love it, but I also don't hate it. And I will say, I think this is a Dusty May pick. So this is the first decision we've seen by Dusty May as the head coach. I think this is the first tell of, okay, how are you going to be as a head coach, right? This is what he's going to be judged by if you hit on this pick or not. One of the things he'll be judged by is you made this pick. Did you hit or did you miss?
On the other side, from Morez Johnson, I mean, how comfortable can you be? You know, stepping into the next level and knowing that there's a familiar face that you know is rooting for you and that you had the chance to win with. I'd like to transition to the Bucks, though, because they've got the 10th pick and the 13th pick. A lot going on for them. They're going to have a different look, honestly, without Giannis and some of the different movement that we've seen. I guess, KOC, I'll start with you. Where do they go with 10? And then maybe, Tom, I'll follow up with 13. What's attractive there?
I think for the Bucks, you could think about here, Nate Ament out of Tennessee, 6'10", forward, very raw. But if you're taking a swing, and the Bucks very well might in the post-Giannis era here, Ament's a good option to do that. Braden Burries, I would think about as well. Labaron Philon is a name that I've increasingly heard in this range, 10 to 14. Philon out of Alabama, 6'3" guard, sophomore. He's somebody I'd think about here at number 10 as well. But for the Bucks, this is a start of a new era. This is a front office run by John Horst. The reason why they're in this position with Giannis Antetokounmpo now in a Miami Heat uniform is because of him and his whiffs pick after pick. And so there's a lot of pressure here with 10 and 13 to actually finally get it right.
You know, John Horst has a big job right now filling the void of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those shoes are very big to fill. And the history of John Horst since he took over the GM duties in 2017, only 4 first-round picks over the last decade, and the 4, it is not a pretty picture. When you talk about AJ Johnson a couple years ago, that they just basically gave away immediately after they drafted him with the first-round pick. We'll see what they do here at number 10.
Braden Burries, the guard out of Arizona.
Wow.
Talk about a shooter, scorer, did a little bit of everything. An Arizona team that was led by freshmen to get to the Final Four, and Burries a huge reason why. First word I heard out of your mouth, KOC, was wow. Explain to me.
I just think it's a little surprising. I thought Warriors might end up getting the guy they wanted at number 11, but the Bucks swoop in and they take him at 10 here, 6'4", 215 pounds. Burries, to me, is going to be, at worst, a good role player.
Yes.
With his hustle and size and effort and connective playmaking, he can catch fire off the dribble as a scorer. He just does all the dirty work. I mean, he's going to be a really, really highly versatile defensive player as well. He rebounds, averaged over five boards per game last year at Arizona. I think he's going to be a good player. Yeah. And sometimes those good players end up becoming great players. And so I think for the Bucks, this feels a bit safe. That's not a knock on it. To me, that's a good thing to start building this foundation in the post-Giannis era.
Well, I will say, we're talking about what he can bring to this Milwaukee Bucks team, but I got to imagine that sound you hear is all the GMs calling about Ryan Rollins right now. Because Ryan Rollins had a breakout season for the Milwaukee Bucks at the point guard position, and now potentially you're handing the keys to Braden Burries. And I think also two teams that are doing backflips right now with Yaxel still on the board and Mara still on the board. Golden State and OKC coming up here at 11 and 12. I do think it's very fascinating to see that the Bucks did not go with the older 23-year-old Yaxel Lendeborg, because I do think he is a win-now type player.
Yes.
Whereas Burries does feel like still a really talented player, but not ready to win right now. Yeah. And the Milwaukee Bucks with the new NBA draft rules, they're not necessarily trying to bottom out, but this is more of a project than, say, Yaxel is.
I will 100% say, though, watching Burries play and calling a few of his games, he's very mature for his age to be a freshman. Like, when you watch the way that he plays very poised. I mean, guys with a frame like his that are freshmen usually don't understand how to be able to use it effectively, to be able to create space, to be able to get your shot off, to be able to get downhill to the rim. But he understood all of those things. Now, a lot of that was due to the fact that he had a guy like Jaden Bradley play that point guard spot that took a lot of the pressure off. However, he showed in big moments he was ready. He was never, ever afraid. He'll take that shot. The game against Kansas, he was looking to take that shot. Braden Burries is a guy who I think, like you said, KLC, is just a safe pick. He's going to be a good player. Will he ever be all-star? Will he ever be a great player? I don't see that in his future, but I think he will be really, really solid.
And I think what is a great player? I think great players are players who win, right? And like great players, there's different categories. There's the guys who make 10 all-star teams, and there's guys who just make the big play in the big moment of an NBA playoff game. And I think Burries is definitely the latter, the type of guy who can make a winning impact in the games that really count in May and June. But then he's also the type of guy who still retains that upside to be a chance to be something much greater in the NBA. And certainly, to your point, Tom, with this Bucks roster, they could be selling off some really good quality players still remaining on the team, and you could have opportunity to really feed Braden Burries some touches early on in his career in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Let's dive into the Golden State Warriors, though. The 11th pick here. They failed to reach 40 wins last season for the first time since 2021. We know that this is a franchise that likes to be very good at basketball. What do they need to do to turn it around?
Well, they got to pick one or the other. They decided to move off of Jonathan Kuminga last season, and they have this fell out of the sky. They're able to have the number 11 pick here, but King, do they trade out of this pick for someone who's ready to win now next to Steph Curry and Draymond Green? Or is there a player like Yaxel, who's 23 years old, who's ready to step in right away and win games? So for Golden State, I think there are a lot of questions here about what they're going to do.
I mean, even when you look at a guy like Mara, I mean, we talked about offensively how skilled he is and his ability to be able to pass. So then you put one of the greatest shooters alongside a big like Mara who can find him. That right there could be a good pairing, right? But I do think Yaxel Lendeborg is a guy who, I mean, could honestly learn a lot from a Draymond Green. He could be that forward that does a little bit of everything, that can facilitate, that can pass, probably scores the ball better than Draymond, but I do think he can learn a lot from Draymond. So I would look for one of the Michigan guys right here, but we'll see what happens.
It's going to be interesting with Golden State. It was reported earlier today that the Warriors were potentially talking to the Pelicans involving Trey Murphy. And I think, we also know, or at the trade deadline, the Warriors were in on Kawhi Leonard. So I'd imagine here a team that did want Braden Burries with the 11th pick. To my understanding, that was their top choice here. Could they be on the move? We'll see. I mean, we still don't have the pick in at this point. Time is ticking on Golden State. But ultimately, I think for the Warriors, could they take a player here and then trade that player? Or are we just going to see Steve Kerr have to coach a rookie and give that player minutes, even though he doesn't love playing rookies.
No,
Well, and that's why you pick up maybe Yaxel, right? Because you're getting someone who's a little bit older, who's a little bit more experienced, who's hopefully not going to come in and play like a rookie.
I think Yaxel would. I think Kerr would hate Yaxel. But Yaxel's
but you know
so
what?
outgoing.
You're right.
And crazy.
But that's why you have guys in the locker room to police that. That's why you have your Draymond. Like, I mean, you saw how that went with Jordan.
He's policing a lot, yes.
We saw that with
Sometimes
Jordan
with his
Poole, right?
fists.
Yeah. But we saw how that went with Jordan Poole, right? So, I mean, maybe Draymond has, maybe like grown a little bit to where it doesn't have to, escalate to that level. But I do think.
I don't know about
that. but I do think that Yaxel, once again, that's why I said he could learn a lot from being around Steph Curry, from being around Draymond. That might be the best thing for him because he is a little immature. Some of the things he does on TikTok, on Twitch, I'm like, hey, bro, you might want to get off immediately.
Well, that's the thing, King. Like,
it's you on Twitch for me.
When you talk to teams around the league, that's what they express in terms of concerns with Yaxel Lendeborg. There's no doubt about his game. 6'9", 7'3" wingspan, but at almost 24 years old, still has the maturity of like a 17, 18-year-old. Again,
y'all gonna ease up off my man from South Jersey now. Come on, South Jersey, stand up.
It's just the way people talk about him, Ice, and ultimately some of the choices, the things he said at the podium about, it's disrespectful to put a freshman on me, stuff like that, it rubs some teams the wrong way in terms of taking an older guy who's 24, but still has a lot of growing up to do. There's concern there.
The two timelines thing with Joe Lacob and the front office for the Golden State Warriors. Moses Moody injured last year and is going to be out for a considerable amount of time. And then, of course, you move off of Jonathan Kuminga. Pods, I think, is coming into his own with the Golden State Warriors. But when it comes to the Golden State Warriors and their ability to use these first-round picks to have ready win-now players, hasn't been pretty. And so with James Wiseman to Moody to Kuminga, Jordan Poole had an amazing postseason run, and they moved off of Poole. At the 11th pick, this is a fascinating, kind of inflection point in the draft.
And I think for Golden State, I think regardless of all the things we're talking about with some of the negative intel about Yaxel Lendeborg, when I had Dusty May on my podcast and he was talking about Yaxel, I asked him straight up, what do you tell teams when they ask you about Yaxel's maturity? And he's like, well, Yaxel's authentic. Yaxel is true to himself. He's still learning how to have the spotlight on him, and he's going to figure these things out. At least with a Yaxel, you know what you're going to get. You know he's going to be true to himself, and that's a positive quality in the eyes of teams. To your point, King, that has Stephen Curry, that has Draymond Green, that is still on a mission to potentially win another championship. If there's any team that I think would be a good fit for Yaxel Lendeborg, it would be the Warriors.
There we go.
Again, for the 8th time, I'm with All-Stars. They know this thing. Yaxel Lendeborg.
Guess he crushed the workout, Ice.
Guess he did. He did. He must be mature enough, I guess, for the Warriors to select him. But I like this. I'll be honest, in watching college basketball, I mean, what a fun player to watch. A player that can do a little bit of everything, that can knock down threes, comes down in transition like a freight train that you do not want to take a charge on. So many conversations about the relationship with his mom and the emotion that she brought into his game. And then I even think about in the Final Four, the amount of injuries that he battled in those last 2 Final Four games, but still managed to get Michigan a championship. I think there's a lot of heart and character out of this young man, and hopefully the maturity then comes.
And that's the thing, Ice. Like, I think people talk about sometimes that the negative aspects with him, but like actions speak loudly. And when he was hurt in the moment where like he could have suffered a major injury and ruined his draft stock, he was out there fighting and playing hard for his team. This is a guy who started out his career with a JUCO team. Then he transferred to UAB, played there, shined, became an absolute rebound machine, playing the 5 a lot of the time for them. And then he goes to Michigan and he's playing on the wing, a brand new role that he had to grow into over the course of the season. And he became a critical piece to a national championship team. And I think now for the Warriors, he could be an absolute Swiss Army knife in the same way that he was for the Wolverines. Doesn't he fit exactly what Golden State is missing when it comes to like trying to win and trying to compete moving forward still with Steph and Draymond?
He likes to move the ball too, and he plays in that pro system in Michigan. And man, Steve Kerr might not like the theatrics off the floor, but he's going to love the way this guy plays basketball. 3.9 assists every 40 minutes from a forward, a big like that who's able to do so much on your team. But we know that Steve Kerr with Stephen Curry on onto the team. He wants to have guys who can get him the rock and play off ball in ways that maybe other guys who like to have the ball in their hands. He is a guy, Yaxel, who is going to want to move the ball and play in the system, and he's a winner.
You know, I got a chance to call one of his games when he was at UAB, right before he got on the scene, before he blew up. I was in amazement watching what I was watching.
Really?
And Andy Kennedy, AK, told me before the game, he said, King, it's one of them. This is one of those dudes. And I was going through my notes and I was watching this film and I was like, yeah, he's good, but maybe not like that, right? In that game, lo and behold, it was 30 points and like 23 rebounds. I was in, but the way he was scoring, he was getting it done in every single way, playing the 5, boarding everything, getting the ball downhill, being able to get to the cup, shooting the 3, picking, popping, rolling. Whichever way you wanted it, he could give it to you. He was facilitating, dropping dimes in every which way. I was so impressed with him. And he would put up video game numbers that whole season. His body of work is true. His production is real. Yaxel Lendeborg is in the perfect spot to help his game, but also his maturity that he's lacking. This is where he needs to be. Learn from Draymond, learn from Steph Curry, 2 of the best to ever play this game of basketball.
And I think you mentioned the word video games.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why he had poor grades in high school, is playing too many video games, and that's why he started out in JUCO. But that's part of the journey with him, and is really, truly a storybook life that he's had, starting out of JUCO, going to UAB, then transferring to Michigan and getting paid NIL money and winning the national championship, and then you go to the NBA draft and you get taken by the Golden State Warriors to play with Hall of Famers in Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Steve Kerr. It is an awesome continuation of an unbelievable college basketball story with Yaxel Lendeborg ending with a national championship. And I'm happy for him. I think this is truly a perfect fit for his future and for the Warriors. You mentioned it, King. He had those 30 and 20 games at UAB. The dude was an absolute beast. The way he rebounds the ball, 6'9" with his 7'3" wingspan. I can't wait to see him suit up with the Warriors.
You know, at the Combine, I talked to Mike Boyden a little bit. And this was early on in the playoffs. And Mike Boyden tells me, Yaxel Lendeborg could go start and make an impact right now in these games. That's how much confidence and belief that Mike Boyden had in him, who saw him the whole season. He said he is a guy who is ready to make an impact right now in today's playoffs.
So who's more pro-ready, Cam Boozer or Yaxel?
You got to say Cam Boozer. Yeah. I like the question, right?
Thanks.
I think it's a really good question, right? I think it's. I don't want to just like mitigate your question and say Cam Boozer, no, easily. But I do think it's Cam Boozer just because of the way he plays the game, the efficiency, the IQ. Like I think that if you threw Yaxel Lendeborg in Cam Boozer's situation, I don't know, he'd be as productive, right? It would be close. It wouldn't be like just very far-fetched.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be that level of production because I do think that Cam Boozer's a better overall player.
I appreciate that answer. Let's get into OKC. Tom, I'm going to start with you because this was kind of one of your biggest storylines going into this one is what do the Thunder do? Back-to-back 60-win seasons for the first time. Obviously, they lost in the Western Conference Finals to San Antonio. Options here.
I mean, Sam Presti's the best drafter in the game. I mean, he time and time again hits on the draft. And so whoever they select here is probably going to have a good chance at being an all-star because no team in the NBA has drafted more all-stars since 1989 than Sam Presti's Oklahoma City Thunder with 10 all-stars drafted, including Chet Holmgren, including Jalen McDaniels, and including, Jalen Williams, J-Dub for the OKC. You guys got to correct me on that when I say something crazy like that. But OKC, when you talk about Serge Ibaka and James Harden, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, the lineage of guys that have come through this program, and of course, Cason Wallace as well with OKC, the amount of hits that this organization has had in the draft, it makes me think whoever they select here, I will feel like, oh, this is a future all-star here. And to me, I've been saying it all night. I think Aday Mara is the guy for OKC, potentially a guy you can put at Victor Wembanyama, not to slow him down or to stop him, but size for size. There's not many centers in today's NBA draft, but he's one of them.
Yeah, totally agree. You've been big on Aday Mara. Will this be his opportunity to head to OKC? Adam Silver is at the podium. And look at our guy Tom on the money. Let's go. The 7'3", big man. Talk about having great hands, pick and roll game. We had talked about his numbers in the NCAA tournament went up another level, which just goes to show you that when the game was on the line, he played his best basketball. I'll go back to you with any left words.
I mean, the playmaking. They need a guy to take the load off of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Jalen Williams being hurt in the Western Conference Finals was so critical for them. No AJ Mitchell, no J-Dub. It really showed that they need another big who can play make. And man, he's the best playmaking big in my mind in a very long time. I mean, the passes that you see, full court, 90 feet, he catches a rebound and throws it down the floor like Kevin Love, like Nikola Jokic. He's got great touch around the basket. And I do think for him, I feel like getting with Chip England with OKC, a guy who is the shot whisperer. I need to see better shooting from Mara at the next level, and he landed in an organization that hired him away from the San Antonio Spurs to make sure to sharpen all the shot mechanics from their wings, from their bigs, and this is a perfect landing spot for Aday Mara.
You said it, Tom, the word Chip England.
Yes.
The name Chip England. Chip England, perfect shooting coach for Mara to have. A below 60% from free throws in college, non-3-point shooter, hit a handful of them, but not too frequent. Chip England is the type of guy that can solve that. But Tom, to his point about the playmaking ability of players 7'2" or taller in college basketball, the last player to have an assist percentage as high as Aday Mara did last year was Roy Hibbert in 2008.
Hey, shout out to my big man.
So it's been a long time we've seen a playmaker with size at this level with that frequency and volume that he did for Michigan last year. And I think with him, sometimes you squint and you look and you're like, this guy could be a potential star. I do think there's star upside with him, and there's still a high floor with him with his massive size, a 7'6" wingspan to protect the rim, play make on offense, finish loudly with the rim, finish with touch near the basket as well. He's got a high floor. But there's a chance this guy continues ascending and continues improving as a post scorer, figures out the jumper to Tom Haberstroh's point, and becomes one of the best bigs in the entire NBA. And certainly for the Thunder, a perfect option to have in the next time we see the Spurs and the Thunder face off. And isn't this what it's all about?
Yes.
How do you win the NBA Finals?
Yes.
How do you win again? And Aday Mara is the type of guy that can help the Thunder do that.
I mean, just imagine in that front court when we have Chet at the 4 at 7 feet, and then you have Mara at the 5 position at 7'3". I mean, this young man averaged 3 blocks per game. He's an elite level rim protector. Right? So now when you have a guy like Mara and you can slide Chet down to the 4 instead of Hartenstein, and now your defense goes to a different level. When you're pressuring, now I got to send everything to Mara at the rim, or Chet now becomes the secondary rim protector. Oh, my goodness.
I feel like Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad when he's grabbing the steering wheel and he's yelling, he can't get away with this, they did it again! Every GM's like, wait a minute, Mara fell to Sam Presti at 12. I feel like he is the next all-star. AJ Mitchell and Aday Mara, I feel like are the next all-stars from Sam Presti's selection. And I just love this pick for OKC. I don't think it could have worked out any better for them.
I don't disagree with you there. All right, let's take a little break and chat with our YouTube fans. Y'all have been commenting, sending us your thoughts on the draft so far. We've got 12 picks out of the way, and it's the Bucks that are on the clock with their 13th. KOC, any comments?
We had some comments in chat. You guys hit us up live as we're doing this right now. AM Hoop said, does the Clippers taking Wagler make a Kawhi trade more likely? I would say no. I don't think Wagler influences what the Clippers are going to do with Kawhi. In fact, I do think they're going to continue trying to win unless they're perhaps overwhelmed for Kawhi Leonard. Every indication is that Steve Ballmer is going to continue trying to compete and win games, and I don't see that changing unless they are just completely blown away by an offer that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I just saw this question in the chat. Does this open the door for a Chet trade?
Ooh.
I don't.
Hartenstein trade.
I would say Hartenstein.
Maybe a Hartenstein trade, yes.
It feels like that's more likely, but I would say that Chet Holmgren, They do similar things, like as rim protectors, guys who are extremely long, and guys that you're going to be able to throw at Victor Wembanyama. I don't think this makes it any more likely that Chet Holmgren is traded now with this pick. But I would say that, man, the depth that they're going to have now with Aday Mara being able to guard Wemby for a few minutes here and there with different looks, it's just, you're not going to get a Wemby stopper, but I just think that Chet Holmgren, I think a little bit more relief now that it's not going to be all on Chet Holmgren or J-Dub or Isaiah Hartenstein. Now they have another body to deal with Victor Wembanyama.
For sure. I 100% agree. And, I kind of hate that narrative that we built, not we, but that people built when they talked about Chet and he was horrible and he played so bad. Just because a guy has a bad series doesn't make him a bad player, right? We saw that with De'Aaron Fox. Just because De'Aaron Fox had a bad series or not the greatest series, he's still a really good player that brings value to his team. Same thing with Chet. So I don't think you get off of Chet just because of one bad series. Let that man bounce back, right? Everybody has bad games. We have bad days sometimes at work, right? But everybody has those moments. Now, I just happen to be in one of the biggest moments that you could be in, right? But he's still a great player that provides value. So I don't think you get off Chet. I think if anything, you get off Hartenstein. That's more so what I would do.
Corey in the chat said, and I think this kind of pushes back on a little bit of our conversation in terms of replacing anybody. Corey said, I feel like more teams will just have to draft Wemby stoppers like how you needed multiple bigs to go up against Shaq. And I think that's a really good point. It's not like Aday is replacing anybody for Oklahoma City. He's just supporting those guys. He's another big man. They also drafted Thomas Sorber last year, and he's another big. And so I think for OKC, they are bolstering this front court with options. You can play a little smaller with Jalen Williams. You can play with double big. You can play with one big out there. It's just having front court flexibility is of the utmost importance. And I don't think OKC's in a position now where they're going to run out of guys.
Far from it.
But you guys, let me ask you this. Do you really need a Wemby stopper if you're OKC? And no. Hear me out. The only reason why I say this is because with a healthy team, with J-Dub, with AJ Mitchell, they win the championship this year.
That was last year. What about next year and the year after that and the year after that?
And as Wemby continues to get better.
But that's fine. But we wouldn't be having this conversation if they went back to back. Now we'd be having a conversation of how do you stop OKC. But the only reason why we're having a conversation about the Wemby stopper is because OKC dealt with injuries. So if you're OKC, do you actually need a Wemby stopper or do you need to get healthy?
I just think Wemby is such a force that you got to have answers. And I just think that Dylan Harper, it's not just Wemby, it's those guys, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, you're going to need to arm up as much as you can if you're going to try to beat the San Antonio Spurs going forward. Because if the Spurs fans could have a say on this, they'd say De'Aaron Fox wasn't healthy too in that series against OKC.
And that's probably true.
So it just feels like to me, this couldn't have been better for the Oklahoma City Thunder. At 17, now you don't have to add this player. You can trade away that pick or package one of your guys and make another move at 17. So I just feel like this Mara pick does so much for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I think their chances of beating the Spurs next year just increase quite a bit with this pick.
Yeah.
Now we're at the Bucks' second pick here. Number 13. I mean, it's going to be interesting. They went with Braden Burries at 10, probably anticipating that the Warriors would want him at 11. And now at 13 with some guys on the board. They already took a guard, so I can't imagine it would be Labaron Philon, Christian Anderson, Ibuka Okorie, any of those guys. They got Nate Ament, who I thought could be the pick at 10, Kareem Lopez as a guy, Hannes Steinbach out of Washington as a center. To me, I think if you're the Bucks with this clean slate, young team, I'm going like upside, just take a swing and screw it.
You liked Nate Ament earlier, and there he is. The forward from Tennessee is headed to the Bucks. Good call.
It makes sense. I mean, look, there's been reporting around Milwaukee's interest with Nate Ament ever since middle of the lottery range in the middle of May. And I think for Ament here, he's a very raw prospect. It was an up and down year for him at Tennessee this past season, but he's 6'10", can handle the ball, he can shoot, he can make plays off the dribble, he's a high IQ player. Those types of players don't come around every single year. And so I think for the Milwaukee Bucks in this post-Giannis era, they got a good player that we all agreed has role player upside with a chance to be much more than that with Braden Burries, and now with Nate Ament. There's a low floor with him, but there's also an incredibly high ceiling with his ability off the dribble, with his size and skill combination?
I don't know. They just got rid of Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he was described as a low floor, extremely high upside. So they're almost doing the same thing here with Ament, because you look at him coming into Tennessee. I think he was highly recruited, or he had a very big reputation coming in, and now it still feels raw. You know, the selection here that he's a raw talent, but man, if you got rid of Giannis and you're going for a big 6'10" guy who can potentially have a high ceiling at the next level, feels like that's the guy.
100%, and I think that one of the knocks on him was that he wasn't tough enough. But to go play for Rick Barnes, same thing like I alluded to earlier when I talked about Kingston Flemings, to go play for Kelvin Sampson at Houston. To go play for Rick Barnes, he demands a lot. And you are going to be a tough player by playing for Rick Barnes. And one thing that I was impressed with Nate Ament is his ability to make winning plays. Like, I think that we didn't give him enough credit when it came to his hustle plays, his competitiveness, wanting to win, wanting to defend, embracing the challenge. Because early on in the season, my man was not good.
Yeah.
Everybody wrote him off. He was not good at all. He did not produce. What we expected, the expectations didn't match the production at the beginning of the season, but he bounced back. And he bounced back in a massive way, and we didn't give him enough credit. But this young man, I really do think, has star potential.
Yeah, I also thought his
he has star potential. Yes.
Passing also came along. You talk about making winning plays.
Yes.
I'm with you.
And that's the thing for the Bucks. Like, you're just swinging for upside. I mean, this season, over his first 18 games, he made 27% of his catch and shoot threes. For a guy that entered college with the reputation of a shooter, it was a lot of bricks. But then over his next 12 games, he hit 44% of his threes. Over his last 5, that dipped down to 33%. And so it was like down, then up, then back down. Over the course of the season, he only made 48% of his shots at the rim. For a guy who's 6'10", he does need to get stronger. He does need to get tougher. And if you're going to the Milwaukee Bucks, this young organization now, post Giannis, 0 expectations of winning. This team is probably going to stink next year. This is an opportunity for him to grow, work through mistakes, get better. And so for, I think, certain teams, if they drafted Nate Ament, I'd be saying, what are they thinking? This isn't a great selection. For the Bucks, I think it makes perfect sense because they're a clean slate, they're building again, and why not take a big swing on Nate Ament?
Well, coming into this past year, the recruiting rankings going in was number 1, AJ Dybantsa, 2, Darryn Peterson, 3, Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson at 5, and who was at number 4? This guy at Tennessee.
Yep.
So he had a lot of hype coming in and is now having the opportunity to capitalize on that with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, as a young player, that's what you want, right? Opportunity to go in, to be you, and to make a name for yourself. What about the haul that the Bucks got, though, from trading away Giannis? I mean, do we feel like they completely lost in that trade? Do we feel like we don't really see the future for them other than it being wide open and restarting?
I mean, I think for the Bucks, they just wanted the depth of assets rather than the key singular prize that was Jaylen Brown from Boston. They wanted 3 firsts. They wanted Kasparas Yakachonis and Jaime Jaquez and Tyler Hero and Khalil Ware, different guys that could dangle in trades or potentially could become good players long term. Ultimately, it was a calculated risk for the Bucks. I reported last night on my podcast how Jimmy Haslam, the Bucks owner, was a key factor, the real driving force in the Bucks deciding to take this deal over the Boston deal because he didn't want to deal with a potential ask out from a star player again in a year. He just dealt with it with Giannis. In the NFL, he owns the Cleveland Browns. They just dealt with that as well. And so I think with Myles Garrett and Giannis Antetokounmpo, they were worried about it happening again with Jaylen Brown in 1 year. So they opted for the package deal, the poo-poo platter with all of these pieces rather than just one guy and Jaylen Brown. So disagree or agree with him. I think the deal was a lot from the Heat. It's everything they could have given.
I feel like they're diversifying their risk.
Yeah.
You know, if you have the Jaylen Brown trade with the contract that he's at, getting paid $60 million a year going forward, if something happens where we see the injuries happen at a high rate in the NBA for superstars, then all your eggs are in the Jaylen Brown basket. And now with all of these different assets from the Miami Heat, you're able to diversify your risk and lower your downside. The question is, did they raise the upside? And that's going to be the question here. At 13, with the pick that they selected, maybe you think they took a big swing here because they wanted to reach that upside.
Tom, it sounds like Yahoo Finance.
Yeah, it does. Hey, I didn't get an econ degree for nothing, okay? So they are, for sure, lowering their downside and making sure they diversify their risks in their portfolio. They got a lot of assets going forward, and maybe he's the guy that hits the home run for them like Giannis Antetokounmpo once did.
Sticking with that theme, what assets do the Charlotte Hornets need?
Well, they could upgrade from the Moussa Diabate position. He was great as a role player, a guy who was a rim runner, screen setter. But I do think that the Charlotte Hornets want to get a little bit stronger in the front court. You look at Miles Bridges and you look at Moussa Diabate. I think they could use an upgrade. The problem is there's not a lot of centers in this draft. I mean, King, do you see any bigs that could be an option for Charlotte?
Hannes Steinbach. I think that he's a guy that could fit alongside of what you already have in Charlotte. I mean, when you look at him, he's a high-level rebounder, the best rebounder in all of college basketball last year. He showed flashes that he can be a pick-and-pop big. He can score down low. He's skilled. He plays with the motor. Not necessarily, doesn't have the, the pop that you would love to see, but he's still a high-level athlete, right? And his motor and his intangibles of going to get the rebounds, offensive boards, I think that he could fit alongside a lot of situations, but Charlotte could be a really good spot for him.
Yeah, from Germany, has a little international flavor to him. Just the 20-year-old from Washington at 6'10". I like that pick. Let's see if you're right. The Charlotte Hornets do select Hannes Steinbach. Let's go. I'm working with all-stars. I'm sorry.
Did you like that lob I threw you? And you were like,
let's go.
That was amazing. Yeah, they absolutely needed a big, and he called it. Steinbach is the guy, great rebounder. I think they're thrilled with this pick.
Yeah, I mean, 6 games with 15 rebounds or more. I mean, he literally led the nation in rebounding, and his upside in terms of being a skilled big that you can play through, I think he can turn into that. Will he have to be that immediately? No. If he is just himself next year, getting offensive rebounds, dominating on the glass, being able to facilitate a little bit, kick it to the shooters and Knipple, LaMelo, if he can just do that at the least with his rebounding, you instantly make an impact. Yeah. However, if he can develop into a scorer down low, give him a little inside-out threat, watch out.
I had in my mock this morning, once it became apparent that Morez Johnson probably wasn't going to be there for Charlotte, Hannes Steinbach going to Charlotte for exactly the reason you guys are talking about. They want to bolster their front court. They want to add more variety with their ability to play different lineups. And I think with Steinbach, as the guys accurately said, the rebounding, the interior play, the passing feel, he's going to be a really good player. He processes the game just so quickly, such a quick decision maker. And I think you pair him with Knipple and LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller and all these bucket getters, Kobe White, that the Hornets have, you're going to see them running DHOs through Hannes Steinbach, and it's going to be a really beautiful offensive system with another layer with him. The thing that's going to be really fascinating to see is how quickly does he develop the three-point shot. He made 34% of his threes last year at Washington on a very low volume, about 1 shot per game. I know in pre-draft workouts, he's been really trying to prove himself as a shooter. And it seems like, to me, I think over time, he's going to be the type of guy who's 37, 38% from three on a higher volume. And I think that's going to be very important for this Charlotte offense, where a bunch of guys are going to have the ball in their hands.
Man, this Charlotte Hornets team love to get offensive rebounds and kick out for dagger threes. Tiago Splitter calls them dagger threes, where you get that second chance opportunity, kick out to the three-point line. Yeah. And man, Hannes Steinbach is going to get a lot of those opportunities for Knipple next season. An elite rebounder, especially on the boards. Look, guys, I know you say we're all-stars. I feel like we've been nailing this draft so far, and this pick right here shows us, that the Charlotte Hornets do see an opportunity here to upgrade the front court. It doesn't mean that they're going to move off of Moussa Diabate or Miles Bridges. I just think they needed more bodies underneath there. And I think it's going to be a great, and look at Dirk Nowitzki talking with a former teammate of his, Steinbach's father here. This is, it's a cool story, and I think for Charlotte Hornets fans that got to see their team have such a breakout season last year with Knipple, with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, it took the city. I live in Charlotte. It took the city by storm, and I got to see that win against the Miami Heat, and I think they just made another step forward in this selection.
I mean, I'll tell you what, not to just dismiss our all-star cast here, but I feel like in some ways the draft has been a little predictable so far. I'm waiting for like a shocker. Somebody, where's our Thon Maker? I want someone out of nowhere. Like where's Richie Saunders out of nowhere?
Ron Hansen was a 16th
That was
pick.
hilarious.
So we're coming up to 16 here. Maybe
we're getting
see it.
close. I mean, I feel like we're due for a shocker
Yes.
here, but ultimately, I think for the Bulls here at 15, the first pick outside the lottery, I'm not expecting any surprises here either. I'd imagine they just took Caleb Wilson with the 4th pick. This is an opportunity for Chicago to get another guard, like Labaron Philon, Christian Anderson, Ibuka Okorie, Bennett Stirts, the top guards on my board. I'd be a little surprised if we don't see Chicago go with a guard here. That said, Kareem Lopez, he's a guy from, he played for the New Zealand Breakers last season. He's somebody who was a love him or hate him prospect when you talk to teams around the league. I wonder if maybe add another forward. I can't see them doing that here with Chicago. But I think a guard here just makes all the sense in the world.
I think you have to, particularly a point guard. I know that
Which one would you take?
Right here, I personally, I don't think they'll take him, but I personally think Okorie is the best guard available right now. I think, I think the guard, Ibuka Okorie is the best guard available. I think he's better than Labaron Philon. I think he'll end up. Labaron Philon is great. Don't get it twisted. But I do think that Okorie is the best guard available. I don't think they go with him. I think they probably go with Philon. If I were to just take a random guess, but Philon, you can't mess with either one of those guys. With the jump that Philon made from his freshman year to his sophomore year, his on-ball creation, not a great defender, but what concerns me a little bit is his size. But on the bounce, he's so hard to contain, and I think he'll be a pretty decent player from day one because of his offensive skill set.
We want to thank y'all for tuning in so much. Just a little reset. That's KOC, Tom, and King. I'm Ice. Those are good names. I had a nice little ring to it just then. But I'd like for you guys to hit us up on YouTube, comment, give us your thoughts on maybe some of our picks that have all been right or some shockers that we could have picks 15 through 30. KOC, anything good on YouTube?
I mean, look, I think for Chicago right here, when I'm thinking about Ice, we have a situation with the Bulls. They did have 8 guards on their roster last year. They still have Rob Dillingham. And so we're talking about guards. If they want to give Dillingham a chance this year to prove what he never got an opportunity to in Minnesota, maybe you don't go with a guard. Maybe you go with a different position. But, I mean, I think we're nearing the point here where things are about to start getting random. I think that's what could happen moving forward, is where things could start getting crazy here because it's been pretty chalk so far.
Yeah, I don't.
A fun fact, in years past, we're waiting on pick number 15. That's up right now. Giannis and Kawhi were both picked at 15 once upon a time.
Well, I also think Josh Giddey is still a 3 years, $75 million coming towards him for the Chicago Bulls at the point guard position, big guard. So maybe
But a guard nonetheless.
A guard nonetheless. So
Zealous handles the ball a bit too.
So it is. I mean, I don't know who is the Giannis or Kawhi Leonard in this draft that people are sleeping on that at 15 the Chicago Bulls can go get. And, this is an opportunity for them to turn the page. They move off of their GM. Yeah. They decide to let go Billy Donovan and bring in Tiago Splitter. So the Chicago Bulls have a real opportunity here to turn the page and start a new era here at 15. And we're talking about the most loaded draft in years. Yeah. Well, at 15, this is still when you can get a franchise player.
I think for Chicago, along those lines, if you're taking a swing, if you're thinking about the swings here for Chicago, just looking at my best players available. For guards, we talked about Philon, Christian Anderson as those guys. Kareem Lopez is next up on my board. I don't think he's a swing, though. I see him more as a very high-end role player. I think you go down the board. Dalen Swain, Sergio De La Rey, Allan Graves, those are swings.
Okay.
Those guys that are more likely to be taken in the late teens, but those are guys that I could see Chicago at 15, Memphis at 16, just saying, you know what? We don't care if we miss here. We already got our prize in the top 4. Let's just take a big swing here on De La Rey or Swain or Allan Graves. I think the non-guards, those are the swings remaining. And Cameron Carr, too.
I was about to mention Cam Carr. You gotta throw.
Your Baylor guy.
Yeah. What do you like about Cam Carr?
I love Cam Carr. Gotta throw out the Baylor guy. Shout out to Cam, man.
All right, Adam Silver headed back up to the podium for Chicago. Guys, we're halfway done. This thing flies by.
This thing did fly by.
Every single time. The 15th pick in this year's NBA draft is Dalen Swain. You hit on it. You just said going down. Your best available, and the guard from Texas, hook 'em horns, as they say. a very good scorer, rebounder, and facilitator.
Dalen Swain at 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan is the type of guy you're going to see him make plays on defense. Number one, first and foremost, for the Chicago Bulls. A very active, tough, hard-nosed rebounder for the Bulls. Averaged over 7 boards per game last year at Texas as a junior. That's going to be the baseline with him. Offensively, I can't wait to see what his role looks like in Chicago, because at Texas last year, he was an isolation scoring king. He played at a very high volume off the dribble and a very slow half-court offense. The Bulls are going to fly around more. I had Swain on my podcast on Monday, and I asked him about that style. Can you shift? Can you change to more like quick, rapid decisions in the NBA? And he said, well, that's what I did at Xavier. That's what I did in high school, and I know I can play any type of style. The question with him is going to be the shooting. He really had an ugly jumper in college.
It's low, too.
Mechanically low release, as you said, King. It never looked good, never was productive, but 80% on 300-plus free throws, 50% on a high volume of floaters. If he can translate that touch from the line and from the floater range to three-point range and the pull-ups, Swain is one of those guys that has the potential to be a star, a steal, one of those classic number 15 pick steals. Dalen Swain to the Chicago Bulls, if he fixes that jumper.
And Caleb Wilson. I mean, they are getting a bunch of explosive, athletic, dynamic athletes. Go ahead, Chicago.
I love what they're doing. And one thing that I was so impressed with when I watched Dalen Swain last year, the reason why Sean Miller in Texas was able to transform their season, they were able to get to the tournament, they were able to have success, is because they moved Dalen Swain to the point guard spot. When he started bringing the ball up, because you were playing with Jordan Pope, you were playing with Tremont Mark, guys who are not point guards. They did not have a point guard on that team. So when they said, Dalen Swain, you run the show, you put guys in positions to succeed so that Jordan Pope and Tremont Mark can do what they do best, and that's score the basketball, Texas went to a different level. So not Tremont Mark. So Dalen Swain showed that he can hold it down at that point guard spot, be a point forward. I don't think he's a true point guard to where he'll be that next level, but he can make plays. He can facilitate. He can get guys around him shots and make dudes better. And defensively, he took the challenge. When they played BYU, who was guarding AJ Dybantsa? It was Dalen Swain the whole time. Did Dybantsa go crazy and get to his spots? Yeah, but that's what he's going to do on 98% of defenders, right? But Dalen Swain took that challenge personally and wanted to guard Dybantsa the whole game. So I was so impressed with his ability to be able to make plays, but also take that challenge defensively. I think he's going to be a really good pro if he can get his shot right.
He's very emotional now. I don't know. Jimmy Butler just seems like a good comp for this guy. Got to get to the free throw line a ton. If he has a flat three-point shot, man, who has a flatter three-point shot than Jimmy Butler? Loves to play defense, gets to the free throw line at a high rate, one of the highest true shooting percentages in the conference. Very efficient from the floor, 54%, and got to the line a ton as an 80% free throw shooter. It feels like if you want to talk about one of the best picks ever in Chicago Bulls history outside of number 23, it's Jimmy Butler, and I feel like a lot of the traits that you saw with Jimmy is the similar with Dalen Swain. He's a guy that loves to live at the free throw line, can do some playmaking, and that sounds a lot like that guy, Jimmy Butler, who did so well for them.
The Bulls are massive. Like, that's the type of team they're building. They trade for Claxton on Monday. They draft Caleb Wilson at number 4. Just pick up Dalen Swain. This is a team that already has Josh Giddey, Modest Buzelis, Noah Esenge. This team is huge. Like, the type of lineups we're going to see them throw out there, I don't know what their spacing is going to look like, but they're going to be able to switch 1 through 5. All those guys can handle the ball, make plays off the bounce. I think for Bryson Graham, their new general manager, what a foundation to build with. If I'm a Bulls fan, I'm feeling for the first time, really, since those Jimmy Butler days, even the Derrick Rose days, I'm feeling encouraged about what the future could be like in Chicago. And so I'm excited. I hope the Bulls get good soon. I mean, we saw the Knicks just win the NBA Finals, a great fan base that has suffered for a long time. Maybe the Bulls are up next.
Need another Windy City in there. I hear you. All right, let's talk Memphis really quick. They've got the 3rd and 16th picks in this, so they chose Cam Boozer at 3rd. Who here at 16 makes sense for the Grizzlies?
In my mock draft this morning, I had Allan Graves going to them. I'm not sure that's going to be the pick here.
I think it needs to be a guard.
A bit of a reach. I do think.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a guard.
We got to see one of these guards, right? Like Labaron Philon, Christian Anderson. There's like these guys got to go at some point, right?
I mean, I don't think that they expected Labaron Philon to still be on the board.
I think that's the guy.
I think that is a shocker.
So I think the fact that, like you said, Cassie, if they're going to get off of Ja Morant, you're going to need a point guard. And I think it can be Labaron Philon, Okorie, or Christian Anderson. But then you pair a guy like Philon with Cam Boozer and Cedric Howard. I kind of like that young core right there. I like that.
I mean, I feel like if you're moving off of Ja Morant, and there's questions around Ja Morant, where he's going to go. It's one of the biggest questions in the NBA right now, is what happens with Ja Morant. That question gets a lot easier if you get a guy like Philon to fill in those shoes. Doesn't have to be Ja Morant.
He doesn't, he doesn't.
He's his own player. But I do think if you're looking, and he might be the best player available, forget fit, he might be the best player available at this position. But I do think with Ja Morant and the questions around him, it would be a whole lot easier if that guy's on your team.
Oh, no doubt about it. I think this is where they worked out a bunch of guards. They worked out all these guys we're talking about. They had Stirts in, they had Christian Anderson, they had Philon. So they got a close-up look at all these guys in a workout setting and got to interview them and spend time with them. So I think for the Grizzlies, I'd imagine we see a guard here. But then again, with Zach Kleiman, I mean, we just saw Chicago go big, right? And so I think some of these teams across the league, they're going big across positions. Maybe one of these smaller guards don't have quite as much appeal, so we'll see.
Yeah, Memphis here goes with Bennett Stirts.
Wow.
Stirts was the guy.
A guard.
Wow.
Out of Iowa, point guard. Talk about someone who can take care of the basketball, facilitate at a really high level.
Wow.
Had a really nice college career. Started out D2, worked his way up, played at Drake, and then found his way at Iowa, where he found some real success in his senior year.
The day I interviewed Stirts, I asked him, how you doing today? Where'd you fly out from? He said, I just landed from Memphis this morning. I was like, oh, you worked out for the Grizzlies? He's like, yeah, man, like that. I feel like I had my best workout. And this was before the recording, and hey, I guess he might have very well had his best workout, but we're seeing here that, according to Shams, that Memphis is trading number 16 to Bennett Stirts to the Thunder for 2 second-round picks. So maybe not.
He had his best workout, and they're like, all right, well, we kind of want second-round picks.
You were good, and we're going to send you.
So good.
For 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Goodness.
Memphis, what are we doing here? What's going on, Memphis?
You were waiting on a shock. Here we go. Here we go.
We got a shock. Trading for 2 second-round picks. We got to find out the details here with what the picks are, because Memphis, I'll tell you what, OKC has a lot of draft capital here, including in this year's draft. OKC has 37. I would imagine that's in the deal. There's a lot of guards available in the second round, as we'll talk about when that happens tomorrow. But I would imagine maybe another high-value pick. But
are they going to take 17?
As far as we know.
So they're going to go 12, 16, and then OKC getting Bennett Stirts here for 2 second-round picks.
Wow.
I thought it would be the reverse, that the Oklahoma City Thunder had too many bodies, and so maybe we parlay our draft pick into picks down the road. But you're seeing the Memphis Grizzlies punt on this pick, Bennett Stirts. Why does I feel like the other shoe is going to drop here.
Why does OKC want him?
Well, also, they already had the 17th pick. Unless you thought Memphis was going to take Bennett, why not just take him at 17?
Right.
So it feels like there's another shoe that's about to drop here, because for OKC, they already were under a roster crunch, trading Aaron Wiggins to the Atlanta Hawks and feeling like, all right, now that he can fill out this roster and maybe they take 3 first-round picks, we'll see what they do here at 17.
But even with that, the fit, I don't love the fit of Bennett Stirts in OKC. When you think of OKC, you think of tough, hard-nosed guards that are willing to defend, that are going to get stops, pressure you, and cause havoc on every front from an offensive player. Bennett Stirts is an offensive savant that is elite in the pick and roll, can shoot it off the dribble. He is an offensive mastermind, right? He's not a defensive guy. He's never been a defensive first guy. He doesn't fit into the system of what OKC wants to do.
I will say Bennett Stirts played the most minutes out of the NCAA, right? On the floor entirely. Did not foul out many games. He is a smart, also defender on the floor.
But you're different between smart and physical, right?
Yes.
I think that you can be a smart defender, but I view OKC as physical defenders. I view guys who cause havoc and make your life hell for 48 minutes.
Maybe they felt like they had enough of those guys and they needed to diversify their backcourt, and maybe that's I'm searching too. This guy is older, right?
Grasp something, yes.
He's not a
definitely
project.
older. He is a senior, 22 years old.
I mean, we're going to find out more details as this develops, but I think in regards to Bennett Stirts, you're right, King, he's an offensive mastermind, but I think the thing that's so underrated about him is the things he can do off ball. When he gets the opportunities off ball, he's become a knockdown three-point shooter, and we do know now that they're going to swap 16 for 17, and so OKC clearly wanted Bennett Stirts here. Memphis traded down and gets 2 additional second-round draft picks to move down 1 slot here. So we're getting clarity on what exactly Memphis got here. But for OKC to move up, I think the clear incentive to get Stirts is the fact that he does add diversity to their offense, as you said, Tom, with the ability to play with the ball, to run pick and roll, to run a tight ship, but also he's an elite shooter off the catch. He made 46% of his catch and shoot threes in college. If you watch through all the clips, and there's a limited sample considering he was on the ball so much. He's the type of guy that hits shots off of movement, relocations. He had like no dip threes where he catches the ball high and gets it up. I mean, I think this is somebody who has the potential to be a elite role player in the NBA. And for the Oklahoma City Thunder, that's something that they need is more supporting level players next to SGA that can play with and without the ball. And they ran out of them.
Yeah.
They ran out of them against the Spurs, and it killed them. So adding Morris does seem important.
And the maturity, right? The maturity, knowing that he's a senior. He knows how to play.
I hear you guys. I hear what you're saying. I just don't see the fit with this guy. I just don't see it.
I love it.
And I hear what you're saying. He is phenomenal. And I also think that he would thrive more in a situation where if he would have been with Memphis. Like if he was playing alongside of Cameron Boozer, now you're bringing in two rookies who have an exceptional IQ, who can feed off of each other, who now you can put them off ball, let Cam Boozer be able to facilitate, and now you get them wide open shots. But with OKC, I just do not see the fit.
But King, everything you just said, I think for Memphis though, on that side of things, right?
Yeah.
Like copy and paste all that, so now they can do that with Labaron Philon or Christian Anderson. So I think
for sure.
For Memphis, there's a lot of other options here.
Yeah.
But I think with Stirts' ability to play with and without the ball is a bit overlooked, considering he just had it in his hands so much. And so
let me ask you this, Kelsey. When you play against the Thunder, who could you pick on?
Nobody really.
You put Bennett Stirts out there. They have
one person.
I think he's.
What you mean one person? In the NBA is based on it's predicated off mismatches, seeking out the weakest
But the way
defender.
in which they play team defense, the way in which they press, I don't think he's going to be as much of a liability as you believe defensively.
But you still could create an advantage off of him though.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the fact that like
created advantage off of Chet Holmgren. Come on now.
What are we
but
talking
not
about?
really, because he's not a primary defender. He's a help defender.
What did we talk about earlier though with Jalen Brunson? Hustle, effort, IQ, Bennett Stirts, check, all of them.
And maturity.
But Jalen Brunson's going to give you 45 and go. For all the lack of defense he plays, he's still give you 45 on the offensive side.
I think it's interesting how high you were about Con Knippel last year. I see a little bit of what Con Knippel did for the Hornets for Bennett Stirts to do. I see a little bit of that role in the catch and three elite and spreading the floor and being a little bit on the ball when you need him to.
But with the team, yes. The right team, yes. I don't think OKC is the right team.
Interesting.
I don't know. I guess if you're looking at OKC, they needed more playmakers with AJ Mitchell out and J-Dub. Maybe they looked at this situation and said, we got enough ball handlers, and maybe Cason Wallace, when he's saying after the series, hey, my favorite part of that last season was when I was having the ball in my hands. It feels like they got a lot of guys who can handle the ball if they're healthy. Or are they making another trade where they're going to need Bennett Stirts next year more than we think? So I'm very confused why they gave up 2 second-round picks to move up 1 spot here and swap with the Memphis Grizzlies. Maybe at 37. Oh, your boy King.
Yeah.
King, you're happy about this for Memphis.
Ibuka Okorie, your guy from Stanford, drafted. He is now going to Memphis.
No, he's not. Michael Scotto reports that Detroit is moving up to 17.
Wow.
To get Ibuka Okorie. So Memphis moving down again.
What are we doing, Memphis?
Wow.
What are we doing?
Wow.
They love Cam Spencer, apparently.
So they're moving to 21.
What are we doing,
3
Memphis?
second-round draft picks. So Detroit is getting Ibuka Okorie here. And for Detroit, I think this is a glorious selection because when you look at what Cade Cunningham needed in that playoff loss last year with some support, some help. Let's get the ball out of Cade's hands and give him a breather. Somebody who can create and get to the rim. And Ibuka Okorie is one of the best in college basketball at doing that. Took half of his shots this last season for Stanford at the basket. He's a very athletic finisher. He can change speeds, accelerates very quickly. And I think with Okorie, the thing that really stands out to me is this stat from CBB Analytics. With Okorie on the floor, Stanford had an 11.9% turnover rate, one of the better rates in the nation. That dropped to 20.5 with him off the floor. That's the largest drop-off in the entire nation. With Okorie on the floor, they took care of the ball. Without Okorie out there, they really struggled. And not only that with him, the shooting is the big question people have about him. 34% from three last year. He made over 80% from his free throws going back to high school, over 50% of his floaters. This is a guy that I think is going to become a knockdown shooter in the NBA. You see that in those clutch moments against Virginia Tech, UNLV, and so many of them over the year.
He's phenomenal. You talked about his start-stop. I mean, his ability to be able to change pace, his speed in the open court is electrifying. I mean, the finishes that he has at the rim was elite. He's a true three-level scorer, and he's a better defender than I think people give him credit for. More so off the ball, though. He averaged 2 steals per game, was able to get into the passing lanes and get out to the break. I mean, I'm a huge fan of this young man.
You told me he was the steal of the draft.
I think he's going to be the steal of the draft. And I think in Detroit, playing alongside of Cade Cunningham, I think Detroit might have got that guy. Shout out Dennis Lindsey for this. He knows something. He knows a thing or two.
Yeah, this is a really bold move for Detroit to move up in the draft to get this kid. And I say kid because he is just turned 19, a very young prospect. And that's going to be asking a lot of this guy if he's going to step into a role where he is going to be playing for a team that wants to win a championship in the Detroit Pistons. But you talk about turnover suppression. Man, they need that in Detroit because with Cade Cunningham and when the ball stops, it gets really hairy on that offense. And it is a thing that he, in a couple years, I don't think it's appropriate to ask a guy who just turned 19 to be Dylan Harper again for the Detroit Pistons. You can't expect that right away, but I do think in time, this could be a really strong pick for the Detroit Pistons.
In regards to the Grizzlies moving down 2 spots, getting 5 second-round draft picks just to move down to 21 now at this point, moving down twice. Still on the board, Labaron Philon, Christian Anderson, Sergio De La Rey, a bigger wing/guard type, Cameron Carr, 6'5", a guard, not a playmaker at least, Malik Thomas. I think for the Grizzlies, if they want a guard, you have Charlotte, Toronto, San Antonio, and then they're up. This is going to be a team that we see potentially getting the guard that they want with the 21st pick, assuming they stay there and don't move down again.
But do you think it'll be Labaron Philon? Because I'm really shocked that Labaron Philon has not gone yet.
Yeah. I think that's also shocked. In our YouTube comments. I'm getting a note from my producer saying that is some of our comments that we're getting is on Philon. If you're watching us on Yahoo Sports Network, we're going to take a brief break. But if you're watching us somewhere else, stay with us as we'll chat what you guys are hitting us up on YouTube, different things that we need to chat about with the draft. It's been a good one for sure. And a couple of twists and turns as of late.
Definitely. From T. Follett, 23. Kev, are the Wizards still a chance to trade into the back end of the first round? I think they were more trying to trade into the late lottery. Obviously, that has not happened. Flintlock user said, Nate Ament pros are definitely his shot creation and playmaking. He can give a really big upside. I mean, I think that's one of the things we're kind of seeing as one of the themes here with some of these selections. It's 2 different perspectives. You're seeing some teams like Milwaukee with Nate Ament taking a swing. You're seeing these teams aggressively try to move up in the draft to get either role players like Bennett Stirts or swings like Ibuka Okorie. Every team has different objectives. And I'm curious what you guys think so far. Has there been a big surprise yet? Or are we still at the point where we're still waiting for a true big surprise? Because the trade down happens, you know?
I think the surprise to me was the fact that Ibuka Okorie, even though I believed he should have gone ahead of Philon and Christian Anderson, it's the fact that he went ahead of Philon. I think that's the surprise, that we're about to go up on 18, but we're getting close to 20, and Philon is still on the board.
Yeah.
Well, to me, Charlotte is already taken care of at the guard position. I don't think they need help there.
It's not a guard then.
And San Antonio's got a hell of a lot of guards as well.
Toronto is the question for me.
Toronto, I could see taking one for sure, which would leave another guy from Memphis at 21. So I think it's very possible we've seen Memphis just masterfully play this draft to still get a guy that they want, whether it's their top choice or whether it's one of the guys that they really like. It's possible they're happy with any of them that are available at 21. Who knows? They might not even take a guard. They might go in a different direction.
I'm just so confused by Memphis right now. I'm
You got 5 seconds, King, just to move down.
I mean, maybe they
Pretty good
know.
value.
I mean, that's not bad, but like I'm just a little confused. When you had Ibuka Okorie on there, I would have loved that pairing with Cam Boozer. I think he's worth some of those seconds that you could have kept.
All right, they had the 32nd pick as well, and the Thunder did have the 37th pick, in this year's draft. Maybe they get that pick too, who knows? But maybe they feel like at the front end of that second round, they feel like they can get whoever their guys are and have them at a much more affordable contract. So that really would be the move why Memphis has been trading back so far is they feel like their guy they can get later, deeper into the draft. And the arbitrage there of just being able to get their guy at a lower price or a lower salary, that feels like to me what Memphis is doing here with Cam Boozer at 3 and feeling like, oh, we still can get our guy later in the draft.
Okay. Charlotte is up. This is their second pick in the first round, and they go to Christian Anderson, the guard out of Texas Tech. Like you guys said, they have a lot of guards, but clearly they felt they could pick up one more in Anderson.
Wow. I mean, this one's a very interesting. Christian Anderson, sophomore out of Texas Tech. His second year there at Texas Tech became a truly elite three-point shooter, both off the dribble from deep range, NBA range off the bounce, but also off the catch as well, the type of guy that you can run through screening action. So I think for Charlotte, clearly, they obviously have a lot of guys in that backcourt already with LaMelo Ball, Kobe White, Con Knipple. I wonder if maybe this is a bit of, a hedge against LaMelo, who's had injury concerns. There's still leadership concerns with him as well, because I think with Christian Anderson, even though he's only 6'1", he's got a 6'6" wingspan. He had a game with 11 rebounds last year against Cincinnati, a big conference game, averaged nearly 4 boards per game as a guy who's 6'1", really a hard-nosed, tough defensive player. And I think he has leadership qualities.
Yes.
So I think for Charlotte, this is perhaps a hedge against LaMelo, but also a guy that can be part of this rotation because of his ability to play with and without the ball.
I called that game against Cincinnati where he had the 11 rebounds.
Oh, wow, you were on that.
Yeah, but what impressed me the most about that game, because JT Toppin was out, and this was early on when JT Toppin went out. So this was like third or fourth game with him being out. So they're still trying to adjust to their role and figure out who they really were. But I didn't think Christian Anderson could get by anybody. I didn't think he'd get to the rim. I think he settled for a lot of jumpers, settled for a lot of threes, and granted, he knocked them down at a really high rate.
Yes, he
but
did.
My biggest question to the Texas Tech staff and for Christian Anderson going into that game was, could he get by people? Well, he showed me in that game that the answer was yes, he can. Right? The guards of Cincinnati had a top 15 defense all season. Offensively, they weren't great, but defensively, they were always top 15. He was able to get by the guards, the smaller guards, get to the rim, finish over the bigs, and that made me extremely impressed with this young man. I'm a believer in him. You look at what he does in the pick and roll. I think Texas Tech did a really good job of setting him up for success, allowing him to get to his right hand all the time to where he hits that pocket pass with JT Toppin, who was a left-handed player. So I do think they put him in positions to succeed. I want to see him outside of the Texas Tech system. However, I am a believer in his shooting. His shooting is absolutely real. I've watched this young man call games where I'm on the sideline with my mouth like literally jaw on the floor because of some of the shot making.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Charlotte Hornets team loves to fire up threes, and this is one of the best three-point shooters in America last season for Grant McCaslin, who loves to play that NBA offense where they're firing up threes, whether it was there or at his previous stops. He's a guy who has an NBA program, and Charles Lee is going to love having this guy on the team, because you talk about the playmaking, 7 assists a game, and the 40+% shooting on about 8 three-pointers a game. He's going to be able to fire it up from downtown, and that is what the Charlotte Hornets did. At one point in the second half of last season, the Charlotte Hornets had the top 3 three-point shooters in America in terms of volume, whether it's Con Knipple, LaMelo Ball, and Brandon Miller, and they got another amazing perimeter three-point shooter in this kid, Christian Anderson.
And a willing passer, right? That makes a difference too when you insert him, and now he's click, click, click to all the guys that can knock down shots. All right, let's move on to number 19 pick that's coming up. It is Toronto, the Raptors that are on the board. Thoughts on the need here for the Raptors?
I mean, 2 things was clear that Toronto needed after their playoff loss. Center and point guard. And at this point for them, with this 19th pick, I'd imagine the options are more appealing for a point guard. With
Labaron
Philon still out there, I think maybe we're seeing Kareem Lopez slip. Maybe you do just go with the quote-unquote best player available if he is indeed that guy. I think the one threat for Toronto here potentially is Allan Graves out of Santa Clara too. I've heard him connected to Toronto in recent weeks. So I think for Toronto, Labaron Philon is the direction that I would go here. But if they are worried about him at only 176 pounds, I think they could draft one of, another. They love those 6'8", 6'9" type of guys. Allan Graves, Kareem Lopez would have appeal here too.
The biggest disconnect between the analytics, like the models that you see publicly, and just mock drafts or big boards that are more scout-based is Allan Graves. Yeah. Allan Graves is an analytics darling. So we'll see if they are going to go after Allan Graves here, but I would be surprised if they don't go for a point guard.
Yeah, I think it's Philon right here, and I think that'll be a good pairing.
With Scotty Barnes?
Yeah, I like that because Philon can play off the ball because he played off the ball with Aiden Holloway, right? He played that 2 spot. It could really knock it down on catch and shoots. Self-creation was extremely high, and he was really hard to contain off the bounce. I really do think that it should be Philon. We will see. We will see. I think we get into the part of the draft that's like, ooh, they're doing what? So we'll see. But I hope it's Philon right here. Anyone
else that you feel like could pair better with Scotty Barnes?
I mean, for guards, I think Sergio De La Rey is a guy that I really like. One game away in Valencia this current year playing in Spain. He's 6'6" as a guard, and I think with all the focus on this amazing class of college basketball players, looking internationally is something not a lot of people do, and we're seeing 2 international guys and 2 of the top 3 spots on my board right now in Kareem Lopez and Sergio De La Rey. At some point, somebody is going to take one of these names that people are less familiar with, and maybe it'll be Toronto. But I do agree with King that Labaron Philon is the direction I would go here. I think he makes a heck of a lot of sense for this Raptors roster and fills a very, very clear need, and that backcourt with his creation ability.
Yeah, Colin Murray-Boyles last year for Toronto, just an elite defensive player. Allan Graves had 3 steals every 40 minutes. He had averaging 18, 10, and 4, 3 steals per 40 minutes. He fills up the box score. The analytics love this guy, but I kind of feel like in terms of the roster, the fit, I feel like they got to go with Philon here, but we'll see what Toronto does. I just think that they need an upgrade at that point guard position long term. Shedd's great, and of course, when you look at Scotty Barnes, who's handling the ball a lot for them, we'll see what happens here with the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, Allan Graves, the forward from Santa Clara.
It is Graves. Wow. So I guess all the connections that you heard about Graves, I heard his floor would possibly be Toronto at 19, and that's what it turned out to be. Graves, 6'8", 7-foot wingspan, a very, very unexpected one and done out of Santa Clara this past season. Came off the bench. He was a sixth man at Santa Clara, but 67 steals on the year, 33 blocks, shot over 40% on catch and shoot 3-pointers, a knockdown guy, playmaker, grew up playing point guard, a family of point guards. I interviewed him on Monday, and he said his father said, we only raise point guards. Well, he grew to 6'8", and he's a point forward. And so I think for the Toronto Raptors, they're getting a highly skilled player, an analytics darling. As Tom said earlier, the question is going to be, can he stay out of foul trouble in the NBA with all the physicality? 3 fouls per game and less than 23 minutes per game last year. The sample size, the ability to play against higher level players. He had some struggles in games against quad 1 and quad 2 teams. Can he produce early on in his NBA career, or will he be just a straight up project? I don't think it matters either way for Toronto. This is a swing, it's an upside play, and for a team that already has a lot of talent, Scotty Barnes being the face of the franchise, Allan Graves could definitely be a great supportive piece early on in his career and potentially much greater down the line.
Some other names from Santa Clara. Jalen Williams, Brandon Podziemski, and Steve Nash.
Pretty good, Tom.
Pretty good. All those guys, I mean, Brandon Podziemski still has time to fill out as a player, but at the next level, you can't argue with that hit rate from Santa Clara. And look, like I said, the steal rate, the ability to score, rebound, he's kind of an all-tool player, but a very surprising story for him to be able to get a 19th pick in the first round. I mean, there are a lot of interesting athletes and players on this Toronto Raptors squad at the forward position, and they add another one here in Allan Graves.
I'm just gonna, be a Debbie Downer right now. I'm just not huge on Allan Graves.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just not, the sample size isn't enough for me. But to your point, KLC, I agree. It doesn't really matter. Toronto's in a position where, like, this pick, if they miss, they miss. But I'm just not huge on Allan Graves. Like, when you look at what he did against high major competition, to me, it just wasn't good enough. It didn't stand out. It wasn't impressive to me. He can shoot the ball a little bit, but can you play on the perimeter? You're 6'8". You cannot be a big. You're not a 5-man. You're going to have to play the 4, maybe the 3 sometimes. So do you have enough athleticism to be able to get by wings? Can you guard wings? Like, I know that you're good in as being a help side defender or a secondary defender, but staying in front of the basketball, are you good enough to be able to do that? I don't know if he's answered and checked all those boxes for me. So I'm not exceptionally high on Allan Graves.
He hasn't answered them yet.
Yes.
That was the
Yes.
opportunity.
He hasn't answered them
And
yet.
I think because of the
Yes.
conference that he plays in college, right? So the amount of stocks that he had may seem a bit deceiving.
Yeah.
41% three-point shooter, though, and that's the one who was playing half the game. So I give a little bit more credit to the fact that you're not starting the game and getting volume shots up. You may only get 4 threes, but you're knocking down 2 out of the 4, 3 out of the 4, right? On a consistent basis. Interesting pick. Tom, I know you want to talk Spurs here. I know you want to talk about their draft history. They are on the clock right now. Tell me what they could do with this 20th pick.
Well, historically, they're going to get an unbelievable player at 20 because that's what they do. I mean, what we talk about with San Antonio Spurs, when you talk about Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, of course, Wembanyama and Tim Duncan, we know that those guys were elite, but I mean, the diamonds in the rough, historically, the San Antonio Spurs since 1989 have done the most with their draft picks above expected. And that's the name of the game, is anybody can draft Victor Wembanyama at number 1, Tim Duncan at number 1. It's those guys like Ginobili, like Tony Parker, the ability to find those guys late in the draft and trading for Kawhi Leonard on draft night for George Hill. They identify guys who are way better than what their draft slot would suggest. And so for here at 20, there's some question marks. You got athletes, you got point guards, and you can take a big swing in Jaden Quaintance from Kentucky, who has, I think, injury issues. But when you're talking about the San Antonio Spurs, they already know they are going to be in title contention with Victor Wembanyama. Can you take a bigger swing down the road like those guys that I mentioned earlier?
Or a guy, Chris Senac. I mean, when you look at when Luke Cornett came into the game, he was solid, but I still think that you might need a third big to be able to get him at a cheaper rate, but to be able to go in and can protect the rim, can maybe space the floor a little bit. I think Senac could be an option right here at this spot, but I don't know. Cam Carr is an interesting name to me just because his length, his athleticism, his ability to be able to space the floor and be able to knock down shots. Senac, my bad, it's not Senac, Senac. I've heard a million iterations of this. But Chris Senac, I think, could be an option right here.
Yeah, the San Antonio, I mean, they've got an embarrassment of riches at the guard position when you got Dylan Harper, you got Stephon Castle, and of course, De'Aaron Fox, his max contract has yet to kick in here, where he's due 4 years left on his contract at over $200 million. You got something in your throat there, Kev. It's the De'Aaron Fox contract that hasn't kicked in. So, look, they could look at, continuing to add to their backcourt, but I suspect they'll try to add some shooting here or an elite 4. I don't know if there is someone that can fill in right away.
Yeah.
At this point in the draft, I don't think the San Antonio Spurs should fill for need, probably get the best player available, and they kind of have the luxury of doing that when they have so much loaded on their roster.
I mean, I think Chris Senac's a good option. Kareem Lopez still out there right now. Sergio De La Rey, Cameron Carr. A guard wing type of guy would make a lot of sense to me right now for San Antonio. And they have a number of second-round draft picks as well that's worth considering. And I think the second round this year is rich with some upperclassmen that are more proven forwards, big men, Zuby Ejiofor being one of those guys. Onyenso, Malik Brown, there's a Felix Akpara. There's a lot of guys in the second round that I think San Antonio could use one of their second-round picks to address the front court. Here, I'd look more for one of the wings or forwards like Carr, Kareem Lopez, Sergio De La Rey.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. We're at the 20th pick, and we're waiting on the Spurs to make theirs. But I just have a random question for y'all. This or that. Would you rather have De'Aaron Fox or John Morant?
Whoa. De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox.
Ja Morant.
Ooh.
Give me Ja.
Ooh. Go first. Defend Ja first.
I want to swing. I think with Ja Morant, I don't think this
I want to swing.
I want to swing.
Drama. He wants drama.
I want to swing. Fox is fine. He's a fine point guard. Ja Morant has a chance to be an all-star when he gets back on the floor and he's back healthy. There's no all-star upside with De'Aaron Fox. We've seen him past his peak, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah.
And I think for Ja Morant, it's very possible we see a potential return to all-star status in his new stop. Am I betting on it? No, I would not bet on it. But I'd rather lean Fox for Morant right now.
So you're a risk taker.
Sometimes. And sometimes
when he got Wemby,
I'm extremely concerned.
Finance, remember?
In other ways.
Jaden Quaintance.
Wow.
Going to the Spurs, the forward out of Kentucky. You mentioned him.
Called it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the move here is that they know that they can take a chance here, even if it's a Nerlens Noel situation or a Ben Simmons situation. Blake Griffin, where he'd take off for the first year. Joel Embiid is another name where if you look at Quaintance, you're not getting him for next season, you're getting him for down the road. And they need an upgrade at the 4 position. I don't know if his future is at the 4 or the 5, but certainly if you're the Victor Wembanyama Spurs, you need as much backcourt help as you can get. And this is one of those high upside picks, a guy who coming into this year was, I think, a high lottery pick.
I mean, to me, this is the biggest surprise so far of the draft. Jaden Quaintance, there were a lot of talk with sources around the league in the lead up that he could fall to 27, 28, potentially even out of the first round, given the amount of concerns about his surgically operated on knee. It was a torn meniscus, torn ACL, and he still has a lot of issues. He hasn't been able to play 3-on-3 workouts. He's still not landing on that surgically operated knee. So there's concern there. He might, as Tom alluded to, have to miss his entire rookie year if he does need more work done on it. That said, if there's any team that's going to take a big swing here, San Antonio, you can't do any better for a guy who can play next to Victor Wembanyama or back up Victor Wembanyama for many years to come. Jaden Quaintance, we saw his freshman year playing at 17 years old at Arizona State as one of the most versatile, dominant defensive players. Offensively, he's somebody more of a traditional big, but he can handle the ball a little bit, go coast to coast after defensive boards. There's some skill level here on top of a floor as a highly versatile defensive player. So I think for San Antonio, even though there's a great element of risk here, this pick very well might not work out. To me, it is worthy of a swing for San Antonio when their hopes are to get over the top and actually win an NBA Finals in the years to come.
And when he's healthy, this might be the best defender in the class. This might be the best defender in the class when he is healthy. But the last part of my statement is what the biggest concern is. When he is healthy, he hasn't been.
Yeah.
But his sample size of when he's on the floor at Arizona State, more so than Kentucky, he was elite.
Yeah.
He impacted the game in a way that we haven't really seen a player be able to do in college basketball last season. So, or the season that he was playing, which was 2 years ago, essentially. But I don't hate this pick because if he does pan out, if he does get healthy to be able to back up Wemby, now you have an extra layer of rim protection. Now the question becomes, can he expand his offensive game, right? From the sample size, 41 from the free throw line, 19 from the 3. Can he expand his offensive game to at least be usable in that short roll situation? At least be able to knock down a mid-range jumper, please. All right? But I don't know if he can do that yet. So that's the biggest question alongside his health. But I do not hate this pick.
I don't
mind it.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Very
lot of
young.
risk here.
There's some risk, for sure.
There's a lot
he doesn't turn 19 till July.
Yeah, he's still just
a baby.
Just a kid. And like there's just still, I think for San Antonio, the element of risk here when you have guys that you know are going to play their rookie seasons. Like Chris Sinak, you mentioned him earlier, King. That would have been a lower risk move, still with a high ceiling. He was a guy ranked in the lottery entering his freshman year at Houston. Guys like Sergio De La Rey, Kareem Lopez, there's Cameron Carr, there's other guys for San Antonio that I would have preferred with this choice rather than Jaden Quaintance. But I do appreciate the upside swing. So I don't think it's like some F as a choice, but I think it's more like a B rather than an A move for San Antonio.
Well, look, they're playing with house money in many ways with just the overflow of young talent on the roster already. So if I'm San Antonio, I understand why you're taking a pick here in Quaintance that does look like maybe down the road it might pay off. And look, it's not just Victor Wembanyama who's young. Dylan Harper, also 20 years old, and Stephon Castle. You know that you have some time here to develop your guys, and Quaintance could be another one.
For sure.
I'm working with the best. It's exhausting, all the ideas, thoughts, and brilliance that is in this room right now from our guys.
We're working with the best host.
Yeah.
You're the point guard.
Appreciate you, KOC. That's why I like you the most.
Oh, gosh.
No, kidding.
All right, hey, Tom, we'll just stay out. We'll just stay over here. Hey, y'all stay over there. We'll stay over here.
Memphis is on the clock here. We've talked a lot about what the Grizzlies can do, what they've done so far with Cam Boozer, what they've done with Bennett Stirts, and then the trade, obviously, that happened later. Where do they go now? I mean, who do we feel like is best available?
Well, Bees Hoops in the YouTube comment said, Memphis is kind of cooking. Cam Boozer fell into their laps, and now they're stockpiling assets, rebuilding the right way. And I think that's like a good lead-in into this next pick here at number 21, because Labaron Philon still on the board.
If you can get Labaron Philon right here, I have to agree. You're cooking, right? You are starting to cook a little bit. But if you don't get Labaron Philon and you go a different direction, I'm going.
Which pick would disappoint you the most?
Probably like a Kareem Lopez. Like I'm gonna be really upset with that, or a Sanak. Like there's only one answer right here for Memphis.
Not a snack. Sorry.
So I said Sanak.
I said not a snack, meaning like you're not gonna pick him. Sorry, it's a bad joke.
Dad jokes over here, right?
Yeah. I thought you were correcting me like you did earlier. My bad.
I do think for Memphis, I give them an A++ so far in the draft with the trade downs.
Amen.
Yeah.
And now if they get LeBaron Philon, we can tack on another
21. Wow.
A++.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're rocking with for Memphis. If it's Philon here. If not, I mean, look, I would really love if they take Sergio De La Rey. That would be a sexy pick.
So Sergio De La Rey or Cameron Carr, and I think that those two options, because they can play off ball, they can shoot the three, they can space the floor alongside of a guy like Cameron Boozer. I would go that direction.
Oh, here we go.
Moment of truth.
Oh boy, Philon or who's it gonna be?
Y'all have been pretty good all night, so I have faith that it'll be Kareem Lopez. Boom. Come on, shocker. And King is upset. King is upset.
Can I talk you into it, assuming they don't trade down from this pick now?
Sell him.
I love it. We've now entered Shark Tank zone, where he's now making his pitch. And let's see if, for that reason, are you in or out?
Kareem Lopez, 6'8", 7-foot wingspan. Played the last 2 years for the New Zealand Breakers in the Australian Basketball League. The type of guy that can handle the ball. Reminds me of a very, very young Paul Millsap type of guy, because he's a bruiser, 222 pounds, can get to the basket, has shown the ability with flashes, with some 25-plus point games to score from the mid-range. And I think with him, there's a foundation as a role player. He runs hard up the floor. He cuts to the rim. He screens, he crashes the boards. He's got good connective playmaking skills as well. He's not gonna be a guy who runs your offense like Cameron Boozer with the third pick, but as long as he improves that jumper over time, 33% on catch and shoot threes, 73% from the free throw line, that's the final missing piece for him when he's already got everything else with an NBA body, an NBA tough, hard-nosed mindset. I think Kareem Lopez here at number 21. I'm shocked he's still on the board. This feels like even below his floor, and yet here he is for Memphis, a potential steal at 21.
Yeah, Tom, you said that he was maybe your most intriguing international prospect in this draft. You like his motor and his athleticism?
Yeah, there's not a lot of, it's slim pickings for international guys in this draft. So I'm saying Kareem Lopez, of all the international prospects, he's got a lot of upside. And for the Memphis Grizzlies, they've done a great job recently in drafting guys, whether it's Cam Spencer, whether it's Jalen Wells, Cedric Coward. I love that pick for the Memphis Grizzlies last year, and Javon Small last year. Zach Kleiman over at the Memphis Grizzlies, he has been hitting on a lot of these draft picks. And so the benefit of the doubt here for them getting Kareem Lopez at 21, I didn't watch a ton of Australian basketball this year, but if I did, he would be jumping off the page here. And maybe we've sold you. I don't know if we close the deal. You're still skeptical.
I'm still a little skeptical because I kind of sort of think that because Memphis didn't take a guard, Are they keeping Ja Morant?
I just think like this year, we talked at the top of the show, before the first round even began, all the guards this year, it's not just Labaron Philon and Christian Anderson and Keaton Wagler and all these guys. It's people in the second round that we're going to talk about tomorrow night that I think in this year's draft class that we could potentially see some guys that are contributing early away. Bruce Thornton.
He's great.
Ryan Conwell.
He's great.
Braden Smith.
He's great.
There's a lot, like Jaden Bradley.
Braden Smith.
There's a lot of good guards.
They're good, but they are not Labaron Philon.
Sure, they don't have the upside, but maybe the way a team is building here, maybe you don't want that smaller guard. You talk about getting targeted on defense in regards to Bennett Stirts.
Yeah.
Maybe for Memphis, when they're thinking 5-6 years down the road, we don't want to have a small guard that's a target on defense. We want to be big across positions.
But out of all those guards you just named, they all small.
What if Cam Boozer is their point guard? No, seriously. Like, what if Boozer is their Jokic? Like, what if that's the way they plan on using him? He has the ball in his hands. He is the center of their solar system. And if that's the case, surrounding him with size and length and versatility, maybe that's the formula for Memphis here.
Or shooting. So that he can be able to get downhill. I think that's my biggest knock on Kareem Lopez is he's a downhill threat that needs spacing around him in order to succeed because he doesn't shoot the ball well. His form isn't great. And his sample size last year, only shooting 30 from the three. You need to surround him with shooting. And when you got a guy like Cam Boozer, right, who's going to have the ball in his hands, I don't see him being successful because he can't space the floor. He can't sit in the corner and knock down an open jumper. So like, to me, that's concerning when you have guys like Cam Carr. You have the guard like Labaron Philon. You have so many shooters that I think would pair better with a guy like Boozer. And I just don't love this fit. I wish you would have went guard here. Because, I mean, to me, they might as well keep Ja Morant at this point. Because you need a point guard.
Man, you have Cam Spencer already who is already one of the elite guard shooters in the NBA. So if you're already thinking, hey, we're going to put the ball in Cam Boozer's hands and have shooters around me, you already got Cam for that. I'm not saying that he is going to be replacing Ja Morant, but you also look at Small. You look at Spencer. They've gotten to take care of the three-point shooting at the guard position around Cam Boozer. So maybe they look at this and say, we need some more athletes out there, which is what Kareem Lopez brings. I just feel like, for the Memphis Grizzlies, them continuing to trade back and identify this guy, their international scouting, maybe they identified him as someone who can be a nice fit next to Cam Boozer.
But my question becomes, right, if Cam Boozer is your point guard, we saw the Knicks, we saw the Spurs, we saw the Thunder picking up 94 feet. If Cam Boozer is bringing that ball up, now I'm going to go send OG Anunoby at him. I'm going to go send Dylan Harper or Stephon Castle at him. I'm going to go send Jared McCain at him. Because now I'm making you work 94 feet, right? Now, in the half court, we can get that switch and switch off because he's probably going to go to the block if he has a smaller defender on him. But if you're bringing that basketball up, I'm about to wear you out and send all my options 94, and you are going to struggle right there. So I think Cam Boozer will be, yes, that point forward like a Jokic in the half court. But we talk about bringing the ball up.
Yeah.
And they'll get their
An adjustment.
Yeah,
that'll need to happen.
They're going to get their Jamal Murray eventually. I mean, you can't also underrate they got Cam Spencer, and I'm not joking. Like when I say that. Cam Spencer,
he's good. He's not moving no needle though.
He's one of the most efficient players in the NBA.
He's really good. No,
shooter.
He's really good.
Elite assist to turnover ratio, elite hustle guy. Maybe they already have one of their creators in Cam Spencer. And I think with Memphis, they are like in a fast, I think to your point, King, logically, they'd be going for a guard. And
they need a point guard.
And now they have a bunch of ball handlers. And so they're a young team. They're early in their development. We're going to find out which direction they go.
Yeah. Congrats to Kareem Lopez, though. First Mexican-born player selected in the first round of the NBA draft ever. My hometown team is on the clock now. The pick is in for the Philadelphia 76ers.
It's perfect. The last name for Philly.
Grab another small guard in Labaron Philon Jr. Now this I don't love.
That's what
but I'll let you go and talk about
They
it.
give up Jared McCain and they give
up Jared McCain.
Get another small
They
guard.
drafted VJ Edgecombe last year, who obviously had a terrific season, but still a small guard, a small electric guard. Your thoughts here on your guy going to Philly?
I think there's nobody better for him to learn from than Tyrese Maxey.
No, I do love that.
Now, I love the fact that he can play behind Tyrese. Tyrese can teach him everything that he needs to understand because their games, although they're a little bit different, the self-creation, the isolation scoring, the ability to get it off the bounce, I do think it's similar in that aspect. Now, Maxi's a little bit more athletic than Philon, but I think Philon's a better defender than Maxi. So I do think that that'll be interesting. Do I love the fit as much as I would have loved it on? The Grizzlies? No. However, it's fine. Like it's okay.
I think best available.
I think
best available. Yeah.
Former Philadelphia 76er Lou Williams, the guy who got a wiry guy who was able to score, get to the free throw line. That to me feels like a good comp for him. Just a guy who can get downhill and finish at a high rate. He's going to have a tough time getting minutes over Tyrese Maxey. With no Jared McCain, he has a spot there as a backup. But this is a big pick for Mike Yancey coming in, taking over for Daryl Morey and getting Philon, who I think slid to 22, Kev, considering where a lot of people, including the guy to my left, feel like he should have gone higher in this draft. And I think this is a good start for Yancey.
I got two thoughts. One, it is a good value pick for Philadelphia. Philon is a steal here from a pure player standpoint with his creation ability. He is a very good basketball player. But two, this is a terrible fit for the Sixers. I mean, they're just too small in the backcourt. You drafted VJ Edgecombe last year. He should be more like your 2, not your 3. And now you have Maxey and Philon. That's too small to play competitive playoff basketball. And so I think it raises the question for the Philadelphia 76ers, is this actually a team that cares about right now competing today, or is this purely a future-based move? Do they actually want to contend this year or not? With Joel Embiid and Paul George still on the team under big contracts, with Tyrese Maxey becoming an all-NBA caliber player, are the Sixers actually serious about winning today with Philon? I think the answer very clearly is no.
Yeah.
It is no. And I think also for Mike Yancey, his first pick coming from Cleveland, going here, working with Bob Myers. Bob Myers, his latter years in Golden State, the Warriors were just way too small. They had too many small players. I think this could have Bob Myers' fingerprints on it as well, where the team just feels, I think, too tiny to me. With Philon and Maxey in that backcourt. Edgecombe should be more like your 2. I wish they went bigger here rather than Philon. But from a value standpoint, he is the best player available on the board, and so we'll see how it pans out over time.
Is it purely his size the reason why he slid?
That's a great question.
I think that is.
It'd have to be.
It was
175. It'd have to be.
Yeah.
Now, I wish, in a perfect world, right? I wish they could have switched these picks. Memphis and Philly. I wish Memphis would have drafted Philon. Philly would have got Kareem Lopez to be able to help a little bit, because now you got more shooting with Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. I don't know how I forgot his name. That's my Baylor brethren. So when you have those two guys mixed with Paul George, I do think Kareem Lopez could have been a better fit with the 76ers as opposed to Labaron Philon. However, I kind of agree with you, KLC. I don't love the fit.
All right, so who would you rather see at 22? If it's not Philon, because if the argument is best player available, and at 22, are you going to be selecting for fit or just trying to beef up your depth chart here? Because ultimately, Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe are going to be starting in the backcourt.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think for Philadelphia, look, people say you just draft best player available. What factors into your rankings is fit and philosophy and team need. And I think for Philadelphia, there's a clear need in the front court. They could have taken a Chris Sinak, a Henry Vassar, somebody who can play with Joel Embiid or just support Joel Embiid when he's out injured. And so I think for Philadelphia, I would have went in that direction. With this pick that they got back for Jared McCain, I think also if they were to take a backcourt player, Sergio De La Rey with his size at 6'6" makes more sense for this roster while still offering great upside as a creator, while offering still these complementary skills as a role player next to Maxey and Edgecombe. So I think fit matters more than a lot of people do. I mean, the combos I've had with executives over the years, unless it's a clear-cut difference between prospect A and prospect B, you're considering fit and need and philosophy and system. And so I think for Philadelphia, Philon Maxey just feels a bit too much small to be in the backcourt.
Totally agree. Good time for a filler question here. We're on the 23rd pick for Atlanta, but I'd like to know what team you guys feel like has won the night so far with the picks that they have had.
To me, it's OKC. That was the team that I was identifying earlier before the draft, what they would do tonight to get back at the San Antonio Spurs with all of their assets going forward, and for them to get Aday Mara feels like to me, I can't believe he fell to 12 for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and so to me, it's OKC. But I'm a big fan of Cam Boozer, Memphis. I think they're big winners tonight too. But for me, I think Mara falling to OKC with Sorber coming back from the injury, Topic coming back from injury. This does seem like the rich get richer.
I like Charlotte. I like Steinbach. I think you fill a hole right there. I like Christian Anderson to add to your three-point shooting, just to add some more depth in the backcourt. I like Charlotte and what they're doing in the direction that they're going. To me, it feels like they made a push. They were competitive this year. They were really good. I think they got better by the 2 picks that they were able to get.
I mean, I think ultimately OKC's a good one for sure. I think Memphis trading down, getting additional draft capital is another for sure with everything they did. I think, if you're looking for the Chicago Bulls as well, Caleb Wilson at 4, then Dalen Swain at number 15. I like what the Bulls did. This is going to be a big, fun, exciting roster. I like what a lot of teams have done so far in the first round. Like I don't have anybody where I'm like, that's an F. That's a big mistake. I've had those grades in the past, but I think so far I'm pretty impressed with how these teams have drafted and some of the calculated risks they've taken, like San Antonio with Quaintance, and then other teams calculating to trade down like Memphis did.
Interesting, this year, 23rd pick for Atlanta. They had Asia Newell last year, where at 23, and you see, when they're trying to build up this team to beat the team that's going to be at 24 here, the New York Knicks. This is going to be an interesting pick for Atlanta.
The pick is in for the Hawks. Zuby Ejiofor. Love my guy Zuby out of St. John's. And you said defense. That's the first word I thought about. With the 6'8" forward. Played like a force under Rick Pitino.
Zuby Ejiofor, he told a story before about after his freshman year at Kansas, Bill Self said, "You're not good enough to play major minutes in the Big 12.
Sheesh.
3 years later with St. John's, Rick Pitino, Big East Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Tournament MVP, Scholar Athlete Player of the Year. Got a good head on his shoulders too. 6'8", 7'2". Reminds me a lot of a Precious Achua or a Onyeka Okongwu type of guy. Great at-rim finisher, great decision maker as a passer, very switchable as a defensive player as well. Needs to improve the jumper. Doesn't do a lot as a shot creator. That doesn't matter quite as much for this Atlanta team with all their creators they have. The one thing I'll say for Atlanta, I'm a little surprised they didn't want to wait for the second round to take a true center. I think next to Okongwu, they need some beef rather than a guy that does a lot of the same things. That said, Ejiofor is just a winning player through and through, and I'm not going to knock them for taking a guy who makes a winning impact and can help propel this team forward.
I think any guy with the motor, that plays with the motor like Ejiofor, you can find a spot on your roster for. I mean, when you look at the way he shot the three, it wasn't great, but he showed that he was capable, that he can turn into that. And averaging almost 4 assists per game, he's a very underrated passer that can provide some value on that front. If he develops a jumper and get better, you can maybe slide him to the 4. But to be an undersized 5 because of the motor that he plays with, I think that he's going to be a really, really serviceable player for this Atlanta team.
I mean, you talk about a guy who can do a little bit of everything. He's a high-level player. And I think at the back end of the first round, this is what I think, Ice, when you're talking about risk-taking, I think you get a guy who is 22 years old. That's okay. At the back end of the first round, I think we've learned over the years that sometimes you can go for youth and upside a lot more in the earlier rounds when you're taking big swings. I like getting a guy who's 22, 23 years old at the back end of the first round. So I really like this pick from Atlanta.
Mature. Zuby is mature, relentless on the boards. For real, I definitely think it is going to help the Hawks. Let's transition to the Knicks, who are on the clock. Obviously, the reigning champs in the league. And tweet from Shams that New York is trading number 24 pick to Los Angeles Lakers for number 25.
Well, here we go. Another trade down for a couple seconds, perhaps. If that's the price of doing business, as we saw with Memphis and Oklahoma City with that first deal here. I wonder who it is that the Lakers are trying to trade up for here. I think for the Lakers, what do you need next to Luka? You need a lob big, and you need shooters.
Cam Carr.
And so Cameron Carr, Malik Thomas, one of those guys, the knockdown shooter, Isaiah Evans, I could see him as well.
Another Duke guy.
Evans
One of them perhaps I could see for the Lakers here with this 24th pick.
I think Cam Carr could be great right here. And I'm kind of surprised he slid this far, especially with his performance at the Combine. I mean, he put on a show. He was terrific.
He was amazing.
He had one of the best Combine performances I've ever seen.
You know what I heard, King? I heard he's been very up and down in workouts. In group workouts with teams, he's had some good days, and some days where he's just getting smoked by second rounders. So I think with Cameron Carr, the workouts haven't supported what he did during that draft combine scrimmage. And so I think that's where Cameron Carr, that's why we're seeing a slide. He was a guy people thought might go late lottery after the combine, and I just don't think he quite supported it in the time since then after workouts. But still, 21 years old, versatile player on the offensive end of the floor, good shooter, can create off the dribble. He's going to go at some point in one of these next handful of picks.
Great athlete, one of the best athletes in the whole draft. I mean, I could see a fit here because he's not a great on-ball creator. So for him to just be able to space the floor the way that he does, I mean, he can stretch the floor 3 feet behind the NBA three-point line. So that level of spacing with a guy like Luka, with Bron, I do think that provides some level of value, right? Malik Thomas might be a little too much of a wild card. He takes some very questionable shots. I don't know if that necessarily fits in because I feel like you need more of a straight catch and shoot guy. So like Isaiah Evans will be perfect as well.
Boom.
Yeah, Isaiah Evans is a guy who's from Duke, obviously, with J.J. Redick and Luke Kennard acquired last year as an elite three-point shooter. And the three-point rate, he's a willing three-point shooter. I remember watching him in Charlotte where he played at high school. This guy can fill it up from downtown. And he has questions about how strong he is on the wing. But when you've got Luka Doncic, I don't think you need to worry too much about that. If you're a pure shooter like Isaiah Evans, I mean, how many shooters are better than Isaiah Evans in this draft? If you're the Lakers making this selection at 24, I feel like you do want to identify a skill set that you need. If it's shooting, if it's rim running, and being able to play a high-level defense next to Luka Doncic, I think you can get a great one in Isaiah Evans as a three-point shooter.
He also had a little bit of a clutch gene in college. Made some really clutch knockdown threes, ACC tournament, and also in a championship run.
I think he's more than just a shooter. I think he can put the ball on the floor a little bit. And I'm not saying he's going to be a crazy self-creator, but being really efficient with his dribbles, getting to his spot. I mean, you look at that St. John's game, he hit some tough shots where he's able to just rise up over the top because he is 6'6". So I do think he's more than just a shooter. There we go.
Lakers, go with Cameron Carr, your guy from Baylor, King, finally gets picked up.
Cam, go play with LeBron. Go play with Luka. Go be great. Cam.
At number 24, but what an opportunity for the young man.
Cam. I'm a huge Cameron Carr fan.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I'm a little biased.
Look at this athlete, dude.
Look at this.
He's got some skill.
The form is great. The rotation is great. When he's straight up and down, right, not leaning back on his jumper, it's automatic money. I think the biggest question about Cam Carr is the willingness to defend. You have all the physical tools. You have everything you need to be a great defender. The wingspan, the athleticism, the intangibles. It just comes down to the heart and the mind. Do you want to? Do you have the ability to be able to turn on that mindset of, hey, I actually am going to get stops. I want to. If he can do that, if he can turn that on, which I think Bron and Luka gonna make him, right? If he can do that, my man is gonna be successful. Cam Carr, go play with Luke. Give me some tickets too. Matter of fact, while you're at it, let's go.
Thoughts, Tom, while King asking for tickets.
Those are pricey tickets.
That's why he's asking.
That's what I'm saying. It might be Bron's last year. I'm going. Look, as soon as
do we know that LeBron's playing for the Lakers next year? You were excited for him.
Hey, we don't. We do not know. We don't know. But if he does, I'm asking for tickets.
That's right.
Or if he doesn't, you're just not going to go. You're just watching TV.
Yeah, I'm watching TV. I want to see Bron's. If it's his last year, he stays.
He's playing until he's 50, King. But I think this makes just perfect sense for the Lakers, though. It makes sense to give up a pick, additional draft capital to move up one spot to assure you get Cameron Carr, because you mentioned the defensive ability with him. You mentioned the shooting ability. I think the role player skills with him, too. He's somebody that moves without the ball. He relocates. He cuts. He keeps the ball moving, like instant, 0.5 decisions. And that's what you need next to Luka, is somebody who plays with selflessness, gets him the ball back, can play without it, and also, alleviate some pressure off of Luka sometimes running a handful of pick and rolls to create for Luka. And so I think Cameron Carr, that versatility makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Well, we do know they value second-generation players because they drafted Bronny James at 55 a couple years ago, and here with Chris Carr, the second generation here, Cam Carr, when you're talking about guys in the NBA that are the sons of NBA players, it is Cam Boozer and it is him. So he is kind of a late bloomer, a guy who had a late growth spurt and was a guy that came into this season and perform at a very high level. So when we talk about high upside swings and a guy who is not as consistent KOC as you would have liked, or not someone that had the heart, or I guess the determination to perform at a high level consistently, well, this is a big swing here for the Lakers, who have already gotten second generation guys.
And I'll tell y'all this. He told me, he might have changed his mind, but he told me that he would love to be in the dunk contest.
Well,
Like
watching those highlights.
He told me that he would love to be in the dunk contest, and he's a guy that I think could win it if he does participate. So I don't know. He might have changed his mind. Cam, you might have changed up on me, but he told me during the season, I'll be in the dunk contest. I wouldn't mind doing that.
That make me happy. I just want guys that play in the NBA to be in the dunk contest. That's my only thing.
No, that's it. Yeah,
That's not what always happens.
That's not. Yeah, that's not. That's what we want to see, though.
I mean, look, I think Mac McClung, all of due respect, I don't want to see Mac McClung in the dunk contest, but I don't also want to see Cameron Carr in the dunk contest. I want to see Anthony Edwards. I want to see stars.
Yes,
I want to see stars.
We're past those times, KOC. We're past those times.
Let's go back to those times.
I wish we could. Unfortunately, it's a certain group of guys who set the stage that we don't know. We no longer do that.
I want to see Victor Wembanyama.
This is the first time I disagree
blame
with
LeBron.
you. I want to see the best athletes that play in the NBA in the dunk contest. If you're a star like Anthony Edwards, for sure, because you're athletic. If Victor Wembanyama, yes. But I want to see the most athletic guys who play in the NBA.
Dude, dunks we've seen 100 times already.
No, I mean, what do you want?
It's all the music's been written.
I mean,
all the dunks have been done.
At this point, there's nothing new to create.
Yeah, so let's see the best do them. The stars, let's see Ant do them.
Right. I'm with you. I'm with you.
I don't think that.
This is how it used to be. We used to sit down and watch the dunk contest. We used to have watch parties around it. Now it's fleeting. As I walk by and go to the party I'm going to.
A bunch of players
Nobody pays attention.
Knows.
Exactly.
But Cam Carr could be a name
and
that
still don't know after they win.
For dunking, I want to know him for winning with Luka.
Right. All right, let's talk Knicks here. Knicks now have this pick at 25. If anything, what do they need? Where should they go?
I mean, we're going to see what happens with their free agency. Landry Shamet, Mitchell Robinson. We'll see if the Knicks bring them back. Owner James Dolan has talked about the reluctance to go into the second apron. We'll see what they decide to do. We'll see what money is out there. But I think with this pick, you could see the Knicks go in either direction. They could replace the Shamet type of production with a Sergio De La Reyna, a Malik Thomas, and Isaiah Evans, somebody like that. But they could also add a different type of big man to replace Mitchell Robinson. Henry Visar out of North Carolina comes to mind. Terrace Reed from UConn as well. So they have options on either side of the wing or center spot. Also worth keeping in mind, they have the 31st pick in the second round. So the first pick in the second round tomorrow night, New York has that one. So what they do here, I think, could dictate also what they do with pick number 1 tomorrow night.
I wonder if they trade out of this pick altogether, just in the roster crunch and the cap crunch that they're facing, that staying with the 31st pick, which is going to be at a lower number, maybe that's the move for the Knicks. So they already traded back with the Los Angeles Lakers here. Do they trade out of the first round just to preserve a little bit more of that cap space to go to guys like Landry Shamet and Mitchell Robinson?
Decisions that New York has to make.
I mean, look, I think for the Knicks, they win the NBA Finals, and they're in a position now, can they be the first team to go back and back now in 8 years? It's obviously a really tough, difficult thing to do, as
tough.
we've seen with all these past champions. But ultimately, with this deep and talented Knicks roster with elite chemistry, proving they've done it, I think the misconception about James Dolan talking about not wanting to go into the second apron is the fact that doesn't mean that you can't look for upgrades. Mitchell Robinson, he did get the great offensive rebound in Game 5 he just overpowered Victor Wembanyama to get it. But he still is a hackable free throw shooter. He has his limitations on both ends of the floor. And so I think for the Knicks, with this pick here at 25 or with 31 in the second round, I think you can find a player that's as good and potentially better than Mitchell Robinson for a fraction of the price. And so I think for the Knicks, it's not just about cutting costs, but also about improving the roster.
I think we have a trade.
Love that point, KOC. Adam Silver's at the podium, and the selection is in.
Number 25, Knicks.
Let's see. Who is it?
Who do we got?
We love the suspense.
Silver's talking through trades.
Spike Lee is on the edge of his seat there.
Yep, so am I.
Talk about somebody ready to win back-to-back championships. It's going to be Spike Lee. My goodness.
Who's it going to be for the Knicks? Sergio. Sergio
They
De
got
La
your
Rey.
guy.
Top remaining guy on my board, Sergio De La Rey, on the cusp of winning a championship in the Spanish League this week, actually still playing games overseas for Valencia. Sergio De La Rey, a 6'6" wing with a 6'9" wingspan. He's a playmaker in a wing's body. He can create off the dribble, a very good creator, a very good shooter at over 40% from three on the year, but also does role player things. As I talked about with what's important for the Knicks playing next to these stars, he's a cutter. He makes quick decisions. He hustles on defense. He plays hard. The question with him was his go-to scoring and what level he could reach. I don't think that matters for the Knicks. They're getting a guy who can come in and be a good quality role player while also offering upside to grow into something much more down the line. In my comparisons in my draft guide, I have Goran Dragic and Malcolm Brogdon as two different types of guys, a bit bigger as guards. Sergio is a little bit taller than those guys, but that type of lefty flair that Dragic has, I think De La Rey could bring that to the Knicks, and personally, I think it makes Shamet a little bit more expendable for New York.
I love the versatility in which De La Rey presents, because he's a maestro in the pick and roll. He's so good in the pick and roll. I mean, 41% in the pick and roll, but also you can play him off ball at that two spot. And I mean, last year with the last two seasons with Valencia, he was shooting 47% from behind the arc. And when I watch real shooters, for me, it's okay, you catch the ball. Can you catch high and keep high? That no-dip three that we love to talk about. And he has that. He is a real elite level shooter. So when you look at what he can do in the pick and roll, then mix that what he can do off the ball. I mean, the versatility at his size at 6'6", you provide a lot of options for teams to be able to use you. Now, can you guard on the defensive side? It become the question, right? Can you keep up with point guards or two guards on the perimeter? However, right, I think that he can be a really, really good player.
I mean, when you look at it, the Knicks don't have a great history of drafting. They look at the team that they have. Jalen Brunson, they acquired in a free agency signing. Karl Anthony Towns, they acquired in a trade. You look at Mikal Bridges. You look at OG Anunoby. You look at Josh Hart. None of these guys were homegrown guys. They acquired them later. Mitchell Robinson could be on the block for the New York Knicks, just priced out in the same way that Isaiah Hartenstein was for the New York Knicks. So dating back to 1989, there's only been 2 All-Stars. We talk about OKC at 10 All-Stars since 1989. There have only been 2 for the New York Knicks. It's Kristaps Porzingis in 2015 at the 4 slot, and David Lee, the last pick of the first round in 2005. So what we're talking about here is not a storied history of drafting, but I also think when we talk about the New York Knicks, they don't need all-stars right now. They've got a whole starting 5 that you could argue have been playing at an all-star level in their career. So for the Knicks, only 2 all-stars since 1989, the fewest of all the 30 teams. And so for Sergio De La Rey, I don't think he needs to be a high upside pick. You mentioned Goran Dragic, all-star player.
And I'll tell you what, Sergio De La Rey, potentially winning a championship. He had 13 points in 17 minutes yesterday, 1 win away from a championship in Spain. going to the champions.
Yeah, that's
in
huge.
New York.
And that's a tough.
huge.
That Spanish league is high level though.
It is.
100%.
That's a tough level league.
100%.
So that's impressive that he can go over there and he can win and have success and play the way that he's playing.
Yeah. You're watching us on the Yahoo Sports Network. We're going to take a brief break, but if you're watching us elsewhere, let's get into some YouTube comments. KOC, anything good over there?
I mean, we got people in the chat talking about right now, where's Tyrus Reed going? Isaiah Evans, how is he still on the board?
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is really just a testament to the depth of this draft class. The fact that there's players left on the board, Malik Thomas, Henry Visar. There's a lot of good quality players that are going to round out this first round of the draft. And these are teams that have contention hopes taking these players here late in the first round. We have Denver, Boston, Brooklyn, they're not a contender. Cleveland, Dallas sometime down the line. But for Denver, Boston, and Cleveland, these three teams, they want to try to win championships. And so I wonder if we'll see them go towards maybe older, ready to help players, or this is a chance just to take a big swing and see what happens.
I feel like I gotta give a shout out to Chi-Town Fanatic in the chat saying, just let Ty Jerome play point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies he's talking about, and let Clayton and Spencer play point. And his point, this Chi-Town Fanatic is saying, hey, they got a lot of guys who can handle the ball right now, and I completely blanked that Ty Jerome, a guy who was injured for much of last season, is also on the Memphis Grizzlies. So they do have, thanks for the shout out here in the chat, they do have a lot of ball handlers here, which explains why maybe they didn't go for Philon.
It definitely does. I mean, they have options. They have guys that they can rely on already. And here's the thing, I do think there's guards every year. So that's why with Memphis, I'm not stressing too hard about them not taking a guard this year. Their roster has options, and also there's guards literally every year entering the NBA, and so I think there's going to be options for Memphis. I think they're an A+ personally. I love what Memphis did in this draft, and I just can't wait to see what happens to round it out. This first round's been a lot of fun. It's flying by. Denver, up right now.
26.
I mean, what are they going to do to bolster this roster with Jokic? Well,
this is a big question mark for, you got Peyton Watson, who might be too expensive for this team because they already paid Christian Brown. They already paid Aaron Gordon. They've already got a lot of their guys on the books for big money. So for the Denver Nuggets, with this organization, can they hit this draft pick to help Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray get back to winning a championship, or are they going to continue to pivot? Because this team, the tax bill and the money is going to become great for this team. And Jamal Murray, he might be their best asset to move and to trade to try to refill some of the players around Nikola Jokic, but it could start here at 26 for Denver.
Any thoughts? What Denver needs to go? Could go.
I mean, I could see maybe an Isaiah Evans, just to add some shooting and some length and some versatility on the defensive side around him. But I don't know. It's hard to really say.
Malik Thomas, how about him?
Malik Thomas could be a wing
Arkansas wing.
Is a big swing. I mean, even a Richie Saunders is interesting.
Well, we got news. The pick has been traded to San Antonio. So Denver's trading out. I assume.
To San Antonio?
I assume like San Antonio has a number of second-round draft picks. We don't know the details yet, but San Antonio has in the second round 35, 42, and 44. I had a feeling they would consolidate. And so I'd imagine we're going to see some combo of those picks for Denver to move down, get 2 shots in the second round tomorrow night, in which in the second round, there's still going to be a lot of good players available.
Yeah, that'd be a lot.
I mean, there's this is a deep draft of good quality talent. And so it looks like it was Tyrus Reed. That's who the Spurs traded up for. Adam Silver just announced it to San Antonio. Tyrus Reed saw him go to the national title with UConn this year with some big-time performances as a scorer, as a rebounder, as a defender on the way there. Tyrus Reed is a rock-solid center going to San Antonio, adding to that rotation. I think he's somebody that can play with or behind Victor Wembanyama. And I think this is really a testament to, hey, we can't just have Luke Cornett. We need another big. Tyrus Reed hasn't quite flashed any three-point shooting ability, so I wish they had a big with that. I would have liked Henry Visar here, but ultimately Tyrus Reed is just a a good basketball player.
Yeah.
With his screening, his rebounding, his finishing, his defensive versatility, he can switch onto the perimeter a bit on top of being a rim protector inside, as we saw with Connecticut going to the national title game.
I mean, 2 blocks per game. I mean, he can protect the rim. He's a little undersized at 6'9", but I think his toughness, his physicality, his motor that he plays with, I think that allows him to be able to have success. I mean, that first round game in the tournament where he had 31 points and 27 rebounds, that was a grown man's performance.
Mm-hmm.
That grown man performance. So you look at him and you're like, if you're going to be our third big, I'm cool with it. Yeah. I think that he's physical enough, he's mature enough to be able to be a backup center immediately.
I feel like he fits their brand.
Yeah.
You know, with the guys that they have there, the young grittiness, the toughness, knowing that they need to build
Yes.
a little bit more maturity as well.
Yeah, maybe Dan Hurley got on the phone on this one too, considering Stephon Castle also played for Coach Hurley and won a championship there. So Reed certainly has the pedigree here with UConn and the program coming from Michigan to UConn. I don't think Stephon and he overlapped because it's been 2 years, but I do think that Dan Hurley call probably paid dividends.
It's kind of funny. They take Quaintance at 20, the Spurs do, and he's one of the high-risk players in the entire draft class, may not even play his rookie season, and then they trade up to get here with 35 and two future second-round draft picks, 9 spots to get one of the safest bigs in the draft class in Terrace Reed. So I think for the Spurs, this is clearly a signal that they know they need more front court depth next to Victor Wembanyama with Terrace Reed and Jaden Quaintance. That's clearly the objective for San Antonio. They still have 2 more second-round draft picks and tomorrow night, and we'll see what they do with those. I'd assume they might consolidate those again, given the roster crunch there for San Antonio.
I'll just say another thing about this pick. Victor Wembanyama seemed gassed in the NBA Finals.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you think that this is part of the philosophy here is to keep his minutes low in the regular season and keep him ready for the postseason run and work on his conditioning? Because they just took 2 backup bigs, and Victor Wembanyama clearly just wilted down the stretch when Jalen Brunson took over.
Yeah, and you know what you're getting from Reed and like the maturity that he has because of his age. I think it's Quaintance that you're kind of waiting on to see, are you going to stay healthy for us to be able to build with you? But certainly interesting. I tell you what, we talked about in this draft that it was point guard heavy, that there were so many guards. But I tell you what, it feels like every franchise has been very specific and when they go to get a big and finding that void and filling that void that they need. Let's transition to the Boston Celtics, who are on the clock, the 27th pick. Here, they lost to Philly in the Eastern first round, but they're trying to bounce back. Where can they go?
I'd take Henry Vassar here out of North Carolina. I think the Nikola Vucevic experiment obviously was a total flop for Boston. He got hurt, never made it work in Joe Mazzulla's system, also can't defend. But the fact is the idea of having a big who can play on the perimeter, can space, do some work off the dribble, post up, that made sense in theory. And so I think having Vassar here or Chris Sinak still on the table, I think one of those 2 guys makes sense for Boston to help in the short term and in the long term.
Yeah, I love Vassar. I mean, I think that he can space the floor, but I think where he doesn't get enough credit is the amount of vertical pop that he has. Like, he could honestly be a lob threat. He either be a pick and pop guy, or he can be a long roller where you can throw lobs up and he can go catch them. I really do think that he fits into the Celtic system. So I do think that this might be a scenario where we see a Henry Vassar. I think that'd be a perfect fit.
Yeah, he's also a high-level passer, had a higher assist rate than Darryn Peterson. We talked about it earlier, is that he didn't have a high assist rate at Kansas, but Vassar at 7 foot plus had 2.4 assists every 40 minutes on the floor for the Tar Heels. And so when you're looking at a big who can pass, which, that is not Queta. Queta is not a ball mover at the center position. So when you're looking at the Boston Celtics trying to upgrade the center slot, that would make a lot of sense there. We'll see if the Celtics decide, they've got a lot of moving pieces here with the Jaylen Brown question mark, what they do here at 27.
Adam Silver coming to the podium.
And the selection is in. Chris Sinak Jr., the forward out of Houston, We've talked a ton about him and thought that he could go a little bit earlier, but KOC, are you surprised with where he's fallen to?
I think, every year there's, especially this year, as deep as it is, somebody's going to fall. And Kristen Ack was somebody, I had conversations with people in recent weeks that there was talk about him in that 13, 14, 15 range potentially as his ceiling, but inevitably somebody slips. And for Boston here with this selection, 7'5" wingspan. Kristen Ack is somebody that likes to play on the perimeter, not the most productive shooter yet, but at the rim, a lob threat, an above-the-rim player, averaged 12.5 rebounds per 40 minutes when he wasn't on the floor with JoJo Tugler, who just vacuumed everything for Houston this year. And so I think with Kristen Ack, you're getting a very good rebounder, a good interior scorer, a versatile defensive player who can switch onto wings and forwards like Houston used him last year with their elite defense. So I think this combination of rebounding, shot blocking, perimeter switchability, and offensive upside makes him a big swing here for Boston, but he still has a role player floor as well.
But I think he will be a lot more productive in the NBA. And the reason why I say that is because you made a great point. When he was playing alongside JoJo Tugler, the spacing was atrocious. That was not a pretty thing to watch. That brand of basketball wasn't good for anybody's eyes. So when you look at that, he's played the 4 primarily last year. Now you put him in the NBA system with a lot more spacing. He can potentially play the 5, right? I think he'll be a lot better. He'll be a lot more effective in the long rolls, in the short rolls, being able to get to his mid-range pull-up where something, he settled for, I thought, a little too much, but that was because there was nowhere for him to drive. So I think that we will see all of his tools come into fruition when he's in the 5, playing the 5 spot with more spacing. So I really do think this is a good fit. I think he'll be a lot better, way better NBA player than he was college player because that spacing, well, that's not pretty. You wouldn't like watching it, right?
Oh, I watched. I saw.
I ask you guys, because you watch a lot of college basketball for these guys, is Houston, in terms of the products at the next level, I find myself loving the way that they play defense at the college level, but do they produce NBA players? We're talking Quentin Grimes, Jamal Shead, Jarris Walker, some guys who have come out of Houston. Is he a raw project, or is he someone that can play right away for the Boston Celtics?
Yeah, I think the one thing that you always have to know when you're getting a Houston player is that they are physically and mentally ready for that level because of what Kelvin Sampson put you through, right? Jamal Shead was physically ready. He was mentally ready. He could defend. I mean, being able to defend is a non-negotiable for Houston.
Yes.
So you're instantly ready to be able to defend on an NBA level. Now, offensively is where I have question marks about the program, because last year, at times, it was almost like they didn't run an offense. At times, the ball was stagnant. They were a little too reliant on Kingston Flemings.
Well, we don't have to worry about that in the Missoula offense, because he has an offensive framework, right?
100%. And I thought the spacing was off because of JoJo Tugler. I mean, JoJo Tugler and Kristen Ack, you really need a guy like Jerron Roberts, who was there the year before when they went to the national championship, that you can feed the ball into and he can bail you out of certain situations. Or an LJ Cryer who can knock down a three-point shot, who's playing pretty decent for the Warriors. But I do worry about the spacing at Houston at times. But like you said, when you're running Missoula's offense, when Sanak is now playing the 5, I think he'll look a lot different and be a lot more productive.
Yeah, I still stay raw. I think you see his shooting ability in the mid-range, not yet from 3, but that's an area of growth and opportunity, and that's what you want, is for there to be potential and upside that you can build on. So I like this pick. I thought he was fun to watch, too, and play really good basketball when it counted the most for Houston.
How about this? We got the Brooklyn Nets are taking that pick at 28, that Julius Randle, that they absorbed the Julius Randle contract. It's crazy to say absorbed the Julius Randle contract, but that's what they did to get this 28th pick.
Yeah, they only had to give up the 33rd pick, to your point.
I mean, Julius Randle, he is a New York Knick, and he gives a big thumbs down to the crowd, and he's traded to Minnesota. And after some time there and a lot of tears and a lot of moaning and groaning, he gets traded to Brooklyn after the Knicks hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy. And now he needs to play a year in Brooklyn. as every Knicks fan in the entire city of New York is celebrating. Part of me feels for Julius Randle, but I really don't. So much of this is brought on upon himself with his piss-poor mentality. Always a Debbie Downer on the court. Has been since he was at Kentucky as a freshman there.
Sheesh, man. Goodness.
So I think,
hey, KLC, tell us how you
Tell
really
us how you
feel,
really
big dog.
feel.
I mean, there's a reason why teams are, why the Wolves are dumping
Not
him.
wrong.
It's
wrong.
I mean,
he's gonna be humbled by that trade. I'll just tell you that right now. Has to be humbled by the fact that they just salary dumped him with 2 years left on his contract. He's got a player option 2 years from now that maybe he picks up, maybe he doesn't. But we're talking
picking that up because nobody else wants him.
Well, we just saw Trae Young. We saw Trae Young get rid of his player option and sign a 4-year, $200 million.
That's true, Tom. Yeah.
So to me, all bets are off when it comes to Julius Randle's decision making going forward, and he might revitalize his stock in ways that last year Michael Porter Jr. before they shut him down had a great bounce back season after a disastrous run for the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs, and so maybe the Brooklyn Nets next to Michael Porter Jr. just kind of rehab his image a little bit, and he becomes humbled. I wouldn't bet that he's going to get humbled by this, but I'd imagine he's not feeling great about the Minnesota Timberwolves just salary dumped him and moved back to 33 in order to get off of your money.
So Julius is a guy I play with in AAU, right? And I'm not going to confirm or deny what you guys are saying, right? and I like him. I like Jay because we're cool, right? But in terms of in the league and what he's done, I can't agree or disagree with you guys. I'm not going to publicly agree or disagree.
On Monday, he's a nice guy.
Yes.
On Tuesday, he's a jerk. On Wednesday, you don't know what you're going to get every day.
And his style, I will say his style of play is not something that I want to watch, you know? It's hard to watch at times. It's hard.
You
it's
don't
hard to
like
watch.
watching a guy receive the ball and everything stops. It just slows down.
Hey, I guess you played against him in AAU?
I played with him.
You played. I'm sorry you didn't get the ball, man.
Yeah, wow. God.
All right,
I'm going to go back and watch those clips on Sunday.
Yeah, send those after
Poking
the
your
show.
shoulders, getting annoyed. Pass me the ball.
Showing you the hands.
Oh.
Joshua Jefferson.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Oh.
One of my favorite all-around
I like
players in
this.
college basketball from Iowa State, and that is who the Nets pick up in this one, the 28th pick. We talk about somebody who had triple-double games in college, someone who could really fill up a stat sheet. You see the numbers there across the board. KFC, I see you shaking your head. What do you like about this one?
I like everything you said. I don't like the fact that he's almost 23 years old already for a Brooklyn Nets team that, look, I mean, I thought he'd be going to a team that's trying to win right now, not a team that's trying to build something up. He still needs to improve his jumper, 28% on 85 catch-and-shoot threes as an underclassman at St. Mary's. That improved to 35% as an upperclassman at Iowa State. A complete zero off the dribble, doesn't do anything off the bounce. You don't have to do everything as a 28th pick in the draft. But my point is that I worry about the shot as for a guy who's going to be a complementary player who does the little things. As Ice just rightfully said, as a role player, as a playmaker, a guy who's 6'8". To me, he reminds me of Kyle Anderson. That's the way I'd put it. Kyle Anderson.
What a throwback.
I think
Tom, you chuckled.
I think Sean Marks has a type. Last year, a big guard who has iffy shooting, they had tons of guys, forwards, who have the same type of profile, and he joins a Brooklyn Nets team that is doing a lot of the same things at that same position. So it feels like with this pick, a lot of the same questions about many of their guards or their bigs on this team is just that they have passing, but do they shoot enough? And Joshua Jefferson, for all the talent that he has, I feel like with all the first round picks they had last year, it's a lot of the same question marks.
They just haven't done a great job of drafting. I mean, it's just in the past, last year, KLC, you literally said this was not a great draft. And I agree. And I mean, I think for this one, Michael Brown is good.
I
right?
love Michael Brown.
Michael Brown.
I know I'm higher than you.
But he's still a swing, you know?
Yeah.
He's still a swing. And then you take Joshua Jefferson, who I really do think is a Swiss Army knife. I'm a big Joshua Jefferson fan. I mean, I covered his triple-double, one of the triple-doubles he had this year. And on air, I literally said that this man is NBA ready. I mean, when you look at his ability to be able to pass, defensively, you know he's willing to take that challenge because he played for Otzelberger. So I really do think that Joshua Jefferson is NBA ready. Now, I don't know if he's NBA ready on the Brooklyn Nets, but I thought that, like you said, he would go to somewhere that's ready to contend so that he can help a team win. Because I think he'd be a backup that can help a team win.
I mean, one of those would have to hit, right? One of those wings who
you would hope
have
so.
question marks about their spacing. Do they have enough
so.
shooting out there? One of those have to hit, I guess, or it just feels like the Brooklyn Nets have a lot of redundancy at that position.
Totally.
I mean, look, I think for Brooklyn, you still got Isaiah Evans on the board, who's 2 years younger than Joshua Jefferson, offers some shooting and creation that they need. Look, the 28th pick isn't a make or break in most years unless you get really lucky with a home run. Jefferson is a single type of player. And at best, I don't think there's home run potential here, so I think he's going to be solid. I just wish for Brooklyn we saw another shot here.
Totally understand. And if you do too, please feel free to comment on our YouTube page. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going 3 hours, 20 minutes, and 23 seconds straight of bringing you NBA draft coverage. It's been a really good time.
It's been a great time.
By. Wait, did you
has
say 3
by.
hours?
Flown by. So much fun with friends.
We got 3 hours, 20 minutes in, and we're still doing my podcast afterwards. We're
Just
still
getting
rolling.
started, baby.
Yes.
Started.
Y'all do that while I get some New York pizza. We love that plan.
Oh, man. Save some for me.
Maybe.
Okay, fine.
Any YouTube comments we need to check in with? Anything good?
Let's see. Let's check out the chat here. We got talking about a little Jaylen Brown. So Brendan said, KOC hurt my feelings today talking about the Celtics needing to trade Jaylen Brown. Look, Brendan, Brad Stevens already put him on the block.
The relationship is over.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. King, I think you just said it. The relationship
is over.
I know.
If you're talking to somebody, you're dating somebody, you wouldn't want your girlfriend out shopping for other men. You wouldn't do that. As soon as you see her shopping for other men, you gotta break it up, right? And it's the same thing. You have to break it up because the fact that Jaylen Brown was out there and they're willing to do this tells me, yeah, we
willing to do it again.
We don't think you are our guy.
The only issue with the analogy is I hope for most people dating is not a transactional endeavor. I know for some it is in my experience.
You know what year we in?
You can
You know what year we in?
I'm sitting around for this one.
I definitely have seen that.
Don't get ice on the tangent.
Let's not.
And you gotta try to sniff it out as quickly as you can. But I think in the case of a true business in basketball, sometimes you do have to just swallow your pride and say, hey, it's Giannis.
Yeah.
Isn't this the test of Brad
Yeah.
Stevens, the reigning executive of the year, is can he manage these egos enough that maybe you don't have to move Jaylen Brown? And that's part of the job is saying, yeah, Jaylen, guess what? 2-time MVP. We are going to try to go get that guy. And we also understand that you showed that you can be a number one guy, and we want to take care of you too. So we wanted to see if that could work out for you in Milwaukee. There have been so many times in NBA history that a star has been floated in a trade, and then they talk with the GM or they talk with the owner, and they come back to the team and they're rejuvenated. Question is that Jaylen Brown?
But that's what I'm saying. When you look at his Twitch and the things that he has said on Twitch, I don't necessarily know if that's mendable. Like I don't think you mend that relationship.
Yeah.
back.
A little breaking news here. Cleveland is trading number 29 Sacramento for number 34 and a future second rounder. The Kings are interested in UConn's Alex Caravan at 29.
First round pick, Alex Caravan.
Wow.
What a surprise. That is actually
Wow.
shocking me.
Yeah,
Alex Caravan?
I know. Talk about old.
First round?
He's old.
UConn?
He's old, but he's
don't do
good.
He's good, but
He's really good.
is he
He is
first
good.
round good?
Yes, I think so.
Ooh,
I had
KOC.
Caravan.
Or he would have been one of the guys you talked about in your second round that gets
I
picked
had
and would
him
have been a difference.
31 on my board, so right
Yeah.
on the cusp of being a first rounder. I think he's a guy I had a first round grade on, even though 31 on my board. Caravan to me is just a quintessential high-level role player. In fact, I actually had him to the Kings in my mock draft.
Look at that.
Number 34. And so there was a connection there for Sacramento, and they're trading up aggressively to go get him. I like what the Kings have done in the draft, going back to last year with Nick Clifford in the first round, Reynaud in the second round. I think they're nailing it again with this new front office run by Scott Perry. Darius Acuff at number 7, trading up a few spots to go get Alex Caravan. This feels like a Kings team to me. The veterans on the team don't make any sense at all. It makes zero sense. But the young guys,
they're great.
I like what's coming along here in Sacramento. And Karaban, we know what he did at UConn, two-time champion, connective piece. He just is a elite role player, elite shooter, a very high-level defender at the college level. The question you probably have, King, is how it translates to the NBA, though.
But I think when you look at all those guys, all the young guys you named, they're all winners. They're all guys who want to win and who play a winning brand of basketball. So I agree. I think the Kings have killed it this year, last year. I think they've done a really, really good job. Now you got Darius Acuff and you have Alex Karaban, two high IQ basketball players that are willing to make everybody else around them better. I like it. I love the King. I'm a Kings fan, not just because my name is King, but I'm a Kings fan.
Come on, that's part of the reason why.
We're all Kings today. That's right.
We're all Kings. There we go.
Well,
Queens.
I do wonder, DeMar DeRozan, yeah, absolutely. With the Sacramento Kings, they got Zach LaVine, they got DeMar DeRozan. Big money to both of those guys. DeMar DeRozan's contract for next season is non-guaranteed. Do they make a move to open up a little bit more room for Karaban and Acuff to get, take the wheel? I think that's the Sacramento Kings. You talk about how good their young core is and that you're high on those guys. Well, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to hand the keys. Doug Christie staying on as head coach, that maybe they decide, look, the veteran win now opportunity that they had, that they decided to go Domantas Sabonis, they got Russell Westbrook, they have Malik Monk, they have Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Maybe there are teams like the Miami Heat are going to be looking to pick up guys that could potentially be waived. Maybe DeMar DeRozan is a guy that they look to, clear the way for Karaban and others to essentially bring in the youth movement in full.
Yeah, I like that. I agree.
I don't know. It just seems like the Miami Heat they need to fill roster spots, and the Sacramento Kings just feel like a team that is going to probably shed some players and go with the youth movement. And it seems like that's an opportunity for them.
Who, if you're the Heat, who from the Kings would you want?
I think if they're going to upgrade their second unit, DeMar DeRozan makes a lot of sense. If you're going to have a guy at DeMar DeRozan at $26 million, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But as a guy that they can pick up off the scrap heap and have a veteran coming off the bench to try to go for a championship, I'd love to see DeMar DeRozan.
But would you put DeMar DeRozan in let's say Norm Powell leaves because they can't afford him?
Not enough shooting. I want him in a secondary role.
That's my concern, is there's not enough shooting on that floor with DeMar DeRozan at that 2 spot.
Or, Zach LaVine, much better shooter, athlete in that system.
Zach LaVine would be very interesting right there. He'd be very interesting right there.
Good point. All right, we're on our last pick of the first round. It is
Mavericks.
Dallas to finish it off, and they go Koa Pete.
Wow, Koa
the
Pete.
forward from Arizona. Saw his teammate earlier in the draft, and Braden Burries. Now we got Koa Pete, guys. Last one to finish it off.
Richard Jefferson. I feel like he's going to unbutton a little bit more of his dress shirt there now that his Arizona Wildcat is going to the league in the first round.
I'll take this one because I'm a Dallas kid. I don't understand it. I think that you kind of got two guys that do the same thing in this draft. And you look at Koa Pete, the jumper I saw at the combine, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who told him to do that. But that right there is very concerning. I think that him and Morez Johnson are literally very identical. It looks maybe a tad different, but I think they're very identical, and I don't understand what you're doing right here.
I wonder if you're the Dallas Mavericks, PJ Washington, is he going to have a future there when you got Cooper Flagg and the 2 forwards that they just drafted? I wouldn't be surprised if the San Antonio Spurs decided to get into the PJ Washington.
That'd be smart.
Because they need a 4. Julian Champagnie did a great job as a shooter, but they need some size at the 4 position. So now that they've gotten 2 guys at that wing spot, in addition to Cooper Flagg, does a guy like P.J. Washington become available?
But neither one of them shoot the ball. Well, that's the concern.
Well, here's the thing, King. Masai Ujiri has a fetish for long-armed wings, and that's just the reality of it. His fingerprints are all over these selections with Morez Johnson and Koa Pete. He's always taken these types of guys, the OG Anunoby types, the Precious Achua types, like this different range. Some successes, some not. That's what he did in Toronto for years. Pascal Siakam. And that's what we're seeing here with Dallas tonight with Morez Johnson And Koa Pete supporting Cooper Flag. This team is big and versatile, and they have a really good shooting coach down there in Dallas. Hopefully can help out Morez Johnson and Koa Pete.
That's a big hopeful, though.
It's a big ask, especially given how broken Koa Pete's shot looked in pre-draft.
And can we also say Cooper Flag needs a knockdown three-point shot? That's also they've got so many of these guys with.
Gotta get better. That's that player development.
Yeah, I mean, you got PJ Washington, Najee Marshall. It does seem like that there's a logjam there of similarly typed players.
And I just don't like it. When you could have had Isaiah Evans, gave him some more shooting right there. Now that Klay Thompson's getting a little bit older and just past his prime. I mean, you had guys there that I think would have been way better fits, but you picked two of the same players. I don't like it. I love Mike Smith. That's my dog. That's my guy. But I don't like this.
I feel like Isaiah Evans is the biggest, I don't want to say loser, but like the guy who fell out of the first round. There are not a lot of guys that we've been talking about a lot tonight that felt like, man, he should have been the selection here more than Isaiah Evans. Isaiah Evans seems like a guy that was expecting to be picked in the first round, coming off of the 2 years at Duke with Cam Boozer next to Cam Boozer and Cooper Flag and Con Knipple. A lot of talent that he has played next to, and NBA draft scouts decided, look, not a first-round guy, and especially all the teams that traded out of the draft, it seems, and moving into the second round, it seems like one of them might have liked a pure shooter in Isaiah Evans, and ultimately he fell into the second round.
Yeah. Is that the best available for the second round as we kind of wrap up on the night? Isaiah Evans, anyone else that we'd like to highlight that is still maybe best available?
My top 5 available right now. Malik Thomas out of Arkansas, a good combo guard, played next to Darius Acuff this past year. Henry Visar from North Carolina, a lob guy, a very versatile offensive player. Richie Saunders out of BYU tore his ACL in February. I think he's going to be a great role player in the NBA. Isaiah Evans out of Duke. And then Jack Cahill, an international guard, I think a little bit overlooked here. I was surprised that he ended up staying in the draft. He was committed to Gonzaga, could have been a lottery pick next year. And then a bunch of good upperclassmen. This is just going to be senior after senior after senior. Tomorrow night, during the second round of the draft, I mean, I love Bruce Thornton out of Ohio State. I think Bruce Thornton has a chance to be a major steal. And Tyler Bilodeau from UCLA, knockdown shooter with a big frame. A big frame at 6'7", can play on the post as well, overpower guys. This second round is littered with, I think, good quality role players.
Okay, King, coming to you. Worst pick of the draft in the first round. Worst pick.
Whew. Worst pick of the draft. I don't know if I'd say that it's the worst pick, but I still don't understand it. Bennett Stirts to OKC. I still don't understand it. I think Oklahoma State.
Don't question Sam Presti.
And you know
There's
what?
a plan.
The only reason why I will not say it was the worst pick is because it's Sam Presti. But I'm still confused. I just don't think there's a fit there. I think OKC nailed it with Mara, but I just don't see the fit with Stirts.
Yeah.
Right? Great player, phenomenal drafter in Presti, phenomenal team in OKC. I don't see the two being in a happy marriage.
Yeah. Worst pick of the draft, Tom.
I'm not going to go with a pick that happened later in the first round. I'll go with something in the top 10.
Yeah,
I would have liked to seen Acuff go a little bit higher. I mean, Sacramento's doing backflips that they got him as late as they did, bet 7. But Michael Brown, I feel like that probably is the guy that I would have taken later in the draft. And Acuff goes to the Sacramento Kings. Great pick for them, but I think Brown actually went a few spots too high for me.
Disagree?
I'm going to say Zuby Ejiofor to the Hawks at number 23.
I like Zuby so much.
I like Zuby too. I'm sorry, but you already got Okongwu. They need a true massive center, not a guy who's really a forward size. And I don't love that pick for the Atlanta Hawks at 23.
Yeah, it feels like a chalk first round, So there's not a lot of picks to choose from that I think we generally thought the draft went as suspected in many of these spots, but certainly that was a big defensive a pick there for the Atlanta Hawks here, but they've got a lot of good young defensive players. So big question there for sure.
Last round would be the best picks of the night. I know we've talked a few already, but now that we've got all 30 down, best pick of the night goes to...
Oh, we're starting with me again.
King.
Best pick of the night, I'm going to have to go with OKC and Aday Mara.
Aday Mara was a good one.
I think that the fact that we allowed Presti to get away with this
at 12. Tom thought Aday Mara could have been top 5. And I was with you, actually. I thought somebody could sneak in there and see the potential for sure.
I mean, Kev, you're right. Marcus All player comp is right. Defensive player of the year potential if everything hits, and just the passing. And the upside, of course, with the shooting. That's going to be the swing piece for him, is if he can hit those free throws and the three-point shot. The wingspan's there. The OKC gets their guy at 12. I'll just go... Cam Boozer at 3, I feel like, is Luka Doncic 2.0, where he falls to 3/4 in a draft that people were expecting, more from DeAndre Ayton, more from Marvin Bagley. I think Luka Doncic falling all the way down to 4, in the Trae Young trade there with Dallas and Atlanta. I feel like Cam Boozer, we're going to look back at this and say, how the heck did he fall to 3? But, you know what? Mara is also a strong pick there.
I'm going to go with Morez Johnson, number 9 to Dallas. I just love Morez Johnson. I think that dude is going to be an absolute stud defensive player, one of the true star defensive players in the NBA. I think every year in all defensive team conversations, and offensively, I just imagine him long-term with Cooper Flagg being a real supportive piece as a screener, spot-up shooter, cutter, just does all the dirty work on your team, a winner through and through. And for Dallas to take Morez Johnson with Aday Mara and, of course, Yaxel Lendeborg on the board. When Morez Johnson wasn't the star there at Michigan, he was the role player. I just think it speaks to the Dusty May influence with Mike Schmitz and Masai Ujiri, this new regime, and the turnaround we've seen from not too long ago, the shock and horror of Luka Doncic being traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, Nico Harrison, lucking out, getting Cooper Flagg, being fired. Now it's a whole new story in Dallas, and I think with Morez Johnson going there, and then Koa Pete at number 30, potential steal, and still another guy who used to be a lottery pick. I love what Dallas did, especially with Morez at 9.
Yep, me as well. Couldn't agree with you more, partner. If I had to pick one, I'm just going to hometown hero, Yaxel Lendeborg to the Warriors. I like that they're getting someone that's mature, that's ready to hoop, that knows how to win. I think he'll have a good time there in Golden State. It has been a blast. I'm actually sad to end this show, but it's been almost 4 hours straight, my goodness, for King McClure, Tom Haberstroh, and Kevin O'Connor. I'm Ice Young. Thank you so much for joining our NBA Draft Live show. Round 1 is done. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.